You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey, folks, welcome to the Thursday night Beans and Dice live call-in show. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Wayne.
And we're a podcast about
How we game.
Thursday nights. It's all about how you game because we open up the phone lines and we talk to you about what you've been up to gaming-wise. Before we do that, folks, let's kind of get the primer going, get the conversation started, kind of get the chats going, make sure the audio's going good. So let us know in the chats if the audio's okay. And let's go. Topics, gentlemen, topics for tonight. I know we wanted to do the boards. We wanted to update boards. Are we ready to do that this week, or are we going to save it for next week?
I know we're not in studio, so I wasn't really prepared because I wasn't able to slap anything up on the board there. But
spoilers, I have nothing played in April that's going on the board. Nothing that I played in April is going on the board.
On the board.
Wow. On the board. Okay.
Now, May, we're only 9 days in. I'm already like, yes, this is the month of good games haven't been played.
I've got 2 or 3 in this month already that I've played 3 games and 2 or 3 are going on the board.
Really? All right.
For May? April stunk.
April was okay.
I got some for April, but
I got a couple of good ones for April. So we could do that. Games. We could also just talk games played. We could do some news stories, right?
I don't know. Mike and Wayne, are you guys prepared for the board? I know Mike is just joining us back after some time off.
Yeah, the 2 of them could hit it this week. We could do it next week if they're ready.
Yep.
There really isn't anything new that I played towards the end of last month that I didn't already put on my board. So I did play a few games while I was in Florida this past week. But are we doing games?
We're doing
in May?
April. Games from April that were put on our board.
Then I don't have anything to add that I haven't already added to the board.
All right, so Wayne, I have nothing. So Wayne, what do you have for April?
All right,
it's on you, man.
It's on me now. Okay,
ready to present.
I guess I will.
Surprise.
Yeah. This will go quick. I actually have 4 new games this month, so it's kind of interesting, and several in my top 5. So let me.
And Rob, you be ready because I got the magnetic tape.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready to go.
Shuffle around for me. All right, I'll be looking.
So I
got the camera and ready to go.
I don't think I put on here games that fell off. I forgot to do that. So a couple games fell off. I think it was Bonsai, which I just need to play again because I really like the game. It's a nice light game. I think In the Footsteps of Darwin fell off. But those I think would easily come back on. But they tend to be lighter games. So we'll see where they end up. But so my number 20, falling down to 20, 4 spots actually, I think, because I have 4 that are above it, is Skull Hollow. I just need to get this played more. I really love it. 2-player game. Played it with my kid a couple times. I want to play it more and play more of the characters. And I think if I played some of the other characters and explored the sort of diversity there, it's gonna move back up my list. I really like that one. Number 19, new to the list, Takenoko. Played this the end of the month. Just a classic. Move the panda, move the gardener. Just a very relaxing, chill game. Played it at the end of a game day. 8-9 days ago, whatever it was. I think it was. Just a fun game. It's a classic. It's an older game. You're building out sort of this bamboo garden, and you're either trying to build specific plots. Or you have the gardener. He's going to grow the bamboo, and then the panda runs around eating the bamboo. So it's kind of simple, but it's just a fun little game. I also have played it with the expansion where you have Mrs. Panda and you have little baby pandas. It's kind of fun. I kind of missed out. I last year at Necronomicon, they had to figure that's like 5 inch, 6 inches tall. I want to play that giant version one day because I bet you that would just be fun.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yep. No real change here. Flashpoint Fire Rescue is still up there on my list from a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
Yep. Played it a few times. I want to play it a bunch more this year. Getting ready for Rob just talked about that tonight in a segment we filmed before the show. It's a great game. I love it. Want to play it more. I think this year want to get a lot of the different scenarios in so that when I have the legacy version coming in early next year, I can get right to that. Camel Up on the board, fun game where you're kind of racing camels and they're going on top of each other and backwards and forwards, and it's been around for a while now, so it's up there. It's on the list again. Marvel United, still there on the list. It's moved down a little bit, obviously, because I have 3 more, I think, in my top 5 even, which is kind of a big month. Last month I played a few games, but they were games that I love a lot. So that's why they're up there. Clank up there. Would love to actually get more than just Base Clank played. I like Base Clank a lot. I love it. So, and I can imagine that Clank in Space and Clank Catacombs.
Space.
Yeah. All the other versions would be just as fun. Millie Fiore up there. Another one that got only played once so far this year, and I kind of would want to play it again now that I grasp it a little bit more. So maybe we'll get that played at Dice Tower release or something. Biblios, classic, always going to be on the list if I play it. It's great. It's like a heavier than you would think filler because you can get it played in 30 minutes. So in between games, it's a fun one. I love the dual one round where you're bidding or separating out the cards, and then you're bidding for the victory points. It's kind of like that forced sale mechanism where you're bidding for your tokens and then using those tokens to buy things. So I enjoy it. Biblios. Planet Unknown, still up there. Been enjoying this, not in person, but I'm on BGA a bunch. And actually, the Board Game Rundown folks had a show last night about favorite space games, and Mike from the Board Game Rundown mentioned Planet Unknown, so I've just started a BGA game with him on that. So enjoying Planet Unknown, which to me I love. Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Have you tried any of the asymmetric boards on that?
Yeah,
yet?
Tried a few of those, like special scoring conditions and powers and things like that. So yeah, it's fun. I really like this game because it's that Barren Park polyomino placement. But then you have the tracks, and so I've said it before. Is that to me, it's like the Great Split and Barren Park together go out to space. So it's a fun game. I enjoy it. First Rat. This is one that I've talked to a number of the Beans and Dice crew, and they've continued to play the game. It kind of pops up on people's lists a lot. It's certainly a fun game where you're kind of playing rats, trying to kind of work your way through the junkyard and blast off into space. So it's kind of a space theme there. Barcelona, played it once this year. I want to play it some more. Definitely the kind of game where, like, the first time you play it, the first couple turns, you're really trying to figure it out because there's a lot going on there with where you place the cars and where you own and the city and how it interacts with each other, and the intersections and where you can score. So it took me like 4 or 5 turns into the game before I really started like, oh, okay, this is what you got to do, and here's how you chain, do a nice big chain of events to score a lot of points.
So hold on a second. We're in the top. Well, now we're in the top 9. We still have 3 new ones left.
Yeah, I told you.
Oh man,
yeah, pretty high.
So April was a better month for you than me.
Yeah,
apparently.
Limited games, but games that I really love. Fleet the Dice game. We've talked about this a bunch. Just really, I've been looking for a copy of it. Yeah, I check the Dice Tower virtual flea market like every day for someone like selling a copy of this because it'd be like one of the games that I insta buy.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
is it hard to find?
I don't know if it is hard to find. I just it's like at this point, I'm not looking to buy anything new or full retail. I'm just I bought Tyrants from the virtual flea market because it was the original copy with the expansion, for the price of the new version. So I was like, okay, I'll buy that. Those kind of things. Yep. Istanbul, love this game. That whole. Use your workers, and as you move across the board, you're leaving a worker behind. And at some point, you've extended so far that you have to go back or work your way back, and you're kind of trying to collect resources or money to buy gems. And whoever buys, the 5 gems or 4 gems the fastest, wins the game. It's a classic sort of not rondel because it's like an open movement in a grid, but it's really fun. Creature Comforts, played this a few times now. It's a light worker placement game that I think is really good for families from the kids table board game. And we're at number 6 and still
what?
Yeah, it was a really good month for me. Blood Rage, still loved playing this. Would love to play it again. I like the the card playing and drafting of it. And I think the one time Carlos and Rob and I all played it. At the beginning, I really screwed up. I was overdrawing the battle cards, and then I realized no, it's the missions and the control that's more important than battling. Because when you battle, you can win that one battle, but you only get to really spend the one card, and so figuring out that drafting is important. And I enjoyed that. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more fun than I expected it to be when I played it. Number 5, Captain Sonar dropping down.
Still.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Captain Sonar. I just thought number 1 was a bit much.
No, but again, I'm talking
It's
about
okay.
my enjoyment of the
Experiences.
game, right? The
Yeah.
experience.
It's by the enjoyment, right?
By the
yeah.
enjoyment. And so when we played it, it was, full beans and dice crew, Michelle's game day. It was a whole bunch of new players, and there were couples, and everyone was it was debates and arguments and yelling back and forth and just chaos. And that was just fun and enjoyable. And I bet you if we play this at Dice Tower East with, again, another full allotment of Beans and Dice Crew folks, it could move back up my list, because I'm talking about enjoyment, not maybe the best game on the list, but how I enjoyed the playing. Number 4, Lords of Waterdeep.
Nice.
This is a classic old worker placement game. For me, it holds a special place because I'm a huge role play gamer. I mean, you can see that over here, the giant bookshelf of RPG books. D&D. I've been playing D&D since I'm 8 or 9 years old. And so when I played Lords of Waterdeep when it first came out, and I was just really getting into more of the Euro stuff, and I was like, this is awesome because every card is based upon the Waterdeep lords and this mission and that mission. And I can think back to all the different modules of the RPGs in Waterdeep and in Forgotten Realms and how it ties to this game. And it's just love it. So Lords of Waterdeep to me still holds up, still a great game. Base game is good when you put in the Skullport, and
you can't play it without Skullport.
Yeah, Skullport's fun. I forget the other. It's Skullport and something I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But great game.
Another expansion?
No, it's 2 expansions in one. There's the Skullport and something else.
Some Scoundrels or
Scoundrels
of Skullport.
Yeah, but you can play each one separately. You can add one module or the other. You don't have to do them together. So
I only played it once, so I don't know.
Yeah, love it. You've only played Lords of Waterdeep once?
Oh no, with the expansion. I've played a bunch of times with the base game. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Lords of Waterdeep. Number 4. Number 3, Mansions of Madness.
Nice.
Got to put that
Deserved.
up there. Yep.
Yes.
Played this a bunch with my wife over the last month or two.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carlos, it's funny. We go back and forth of, as we mention a game, it kind of hits into us, and then we all start playing the game. So
it drives the salivation, like the. You play a game. Oh, I gotta play that again.
Yeah, I gotta play that game. Yeah, so I got Mansion Madness out a few times, and it's been fun. Love the murder mystery ones. There's the 3 or 4 that are kind of murder mystery or mystery type ones that really hit. I think in the last couple months we've also watched with our son, Murder on the Orient Express and the Seance in Venice or whatever the other one is, and so we watched several kind of these old school kind of Hercule Poirot murder mystery type things with our kid. And This kind of also hits when we play that thing there. So Mansion Madness number 3. Number 2, Village, Inca and Marcus Brandt's. I think this might be one of their first real big hits. And it was the Kennerspiel des Jahres in 2012. Worker placement game. Played this with Rob and Sam and Nick from our crew. It's one of my all-time favorite worker placement games. And what I like about it is you're all residents of a medieval village, and you're either going to go into the church or the government or into bartering and selling of goods or traveling around the countryside or in like the building goods and craftsmanships. Certain actions you will age on your player board, and every time you cross a bridge, in your little clock, a meeple dies, right? So like your oldest meeple, you have generations of meeples, and they sort of pass on, and so the whole game is about balancing bringing the new generation of meeples in and where your older generation of meeples are placed when you cross that bridge. Because as they pass away, you put them in either the annals of the village, the chronicles of the village history, or you put them in the potter's grave, right? And you score more victory points if they're in the annals of the village. So it's kind of like this, balancing act. It's really one of my favorite sort of the worker placement games from around that time period. And again, Inca and Marcus Brandt have gone on to do a million other really popular games. They do the exit games. They have they've won a ton of other awards, but this I think was one of their first big ones there. So Village in there. And then my number 1, still Dune Imperium from a couple weeks ago. So that's my newest top 20 as of this past month. I think I already have probably two that are going to go on the list already this month.
Nice.
But yes, it's been a good month, and so those are the three that you guys were like, what? How can he have three in his top 5? And
I approve. It's all
there
right.
you go. Yeah, this
Oh,
time
yeah.
you approve. Yeah, so that's my my newest of my top 20 list there, guys.
Let's clarify though. That's Dune Imperium Uprising, right?
Backslash colon.
No,
Sinis-
Dune Imperium. It's fine.
Imperium. Yeah, just do Imperium. Yeah.
Yeah, Dune Imperium.
I don't think you played Dune Imperium this
Not yet, no,
year.
Dune Imperium.
Played Dune
Uprising,
Imperium
yes,
Uprising.
Yes,
I
but
played
I
both.
consider them one game, so it's fine.
Nice.
All right, Rob, I sent you a picture of your board
Oh, you did
in the Discord. So if you want to pull up your phone, you can look at it
Yeah, I got my phone here.
and do some prep. Mike already announced he's got nothing.
Yeah, I would only have one game that I played over the past week. It's going to get added to the list. I can't remember. Actually, I don't think it's on my list yet. I haven't looked at my list, but if it isn't on there, it's definitely getting added to it.
I'll talk a little bit while Rob kind of gets his games together. For me, in April, I will have some honorary mentions. Right? Is that the words we use? No
Honorable.
Thanks was a game that I played for the first time in April. Really enjoyed my 3 plays of it. I just don't know if I'm ready to say it's better than like Comic Hunters or Long Shot the Dice game. Right? It's a good light family game. It's deserving. It's definitely deserving. It's just here we are in May, and this list is a tough list to beat already. Dice Town, played that with Robin Wayne, Anton Bauza, right? Anton Bauza, I think. Bruno Cathala.
That's it.
It was Bruno Cathala. Dice Town, old one, but a goodie, and it was very enjoyable. Almost made the list. Long Shot the Dice game is already on the list. I got played in April. We played some Strike. That's just a fun filler. And then Picky Pixies is not going anywhere near my list. And then Sushi Go.
Feeling from your review.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was really hoping with Elizabeth Hargrave on the title. I thought, it's not her and it's not the design. It's the style of game. That style of game, that level of deduction is just too much for my brain. I enjoy more Deception, Murder in Hong Kong style deduction. Spoiler for me. And then Sushi Go, spin some for dim sum. I'm not ready to throw that on the board. It's an enjoyable game, but not that high. So those were my April honorable mentions, but not making it to the board. Rob, how are you feeling about your April plays? Are you ready to put some on the board?
I am, I think. I believe it's going to be 4. And so I'm just looking. I'm scrolling back and forth here between what you sent me. So I appreciate you sending that shot here. Yeah, I think we can go ahead and peel the last 4 off. And so, I'm sorry. 20 was open. 20 was open. So 3 are coming off. Sorry, because I pulled off those 2-player games last time. But Watergate's going to come off. That was at 19. Porta Nigra at 18 is coming off. And Millie Fiore. Yeah, it's 17. Mille Fiore was fun, but I need to play it again. I agree with Wayne. Now that I have a better grasp on how to play it, I've only played it the one time. And Millie Fiore.
Did
I need to get
you play a
in.
full player count?
We
played 4. Yeah, I think it was
Okay, all right.
full. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I think what hurt it was like sorry for Rob for interrupting. I think when I play a game for the first time, I zone in on like one strategy and just nail it. Go right at it. So my enjoyment of the game was a little higher. Rob's kind of learning style is he dabbles in a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And that's sort of I think in Millie Fiore that could hurt you if you dabble too much.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of whatever. So I think
if
both of us play it again, it might move up my list. And I think it would reappear on Rob's list because now we know how to play it better and we understand sort of that interaction of it. So
yeah, I agree. Let me start with a fairly easy one for me. This was one that was on my list definitely last year. I played this mid-month in April with my daughter and my son here at home. Ethnos, one of my all-time favorites. That's probably on one of our old ones. I don't know if you have that whole stack of old ones there, or if you just want to write down a new one. But Ethnos, one of my all-time faves. I mean, this is, I don't know if I would call it quite entry level. I don't know. Would y'all call this an entry level game?
Mid to light.
Mid to light.
More like mid.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there where you have to really because I've played it a few times. I'm still not good at it. So.
Yeah, kind of that. I like that push your luck part of it, where you've got the hand of a maximum up to 10 cards, but you can keep putting cards in your hand. But when you play them, you've either got to play groups by a color or groups by a race or of types of monsters or whatever. And whatever ones you do, whichever one you play on the top of your group gives you a special ability for that. And then depending on how many you play in the group, you get, have an area control part of the board, which I love area control games. But I love that pressure luck part of it is always fun with me. And so that's what you can have, up to 10 cards. But when you decide to finally splay down a group of cards, you have to discard all the other cards that you didn't use in that group to the general market, and so you're opening up a whole bunch of options for other people to grab and pick up. So it's that fun tension of, how do I draw one more time? Do I go one more time to try to make a bigger hand and get more points when we score the hand sizes, or to go ahead and just get these out, and then those dragons coming up in the second half. Third dragon ends immediately, so it's not like you get one more turn. It happens, it goes away. So yeah, let me find. So it's gonna Ethnos is gonna be. It's going to be up there fairly high, so we can start bumping stuff down. I'm going to put Ethnos, just taking a quick look here. Let's go. Oh, it's going to be above Camel Up, so that gives you an idea. Camel Up was at 8. So yeah, it's going to, you can slide all those down, and we may do a little adjusting here, but Ethnos is going to be pretty high for me. Barcelona. So now we're comparing that to a fairly mid to heavier Euro. Let's put it under Barcelona. Let's put it where Camel Up was, at 8. Yeah, appreciate it, Carlos. Thank you.
Number
So
8.
That's where it's going to go.
Ethnos.
So, yeah,
Nice.
Number 8, Ethnos. So the next one, let me just see here. Let's go to another big time classic for me. I actually hadn't played this one in a couple of years, but again, I played this with my daughter and my son. This was just about a week ago. So this was right at the end of April 29th. Imperial Settlers. And I know last time I was at Carlos's, he had 51st Date out on the table, and we were talking about, I was like, oh, I really like 51st Date. I want to play that again because I like the post-apocalyptic. And then you said, Carlos, kind of the opposite. You were like, I thought 51st Date was my favorite, but I do love the setting and the theme for Imperial Settlers. And so you being the history buff, and I kind of like that post-apocalyptic, that grungy, dirty side of things there, feeling of it. Imperial Settlers is going to be another one that's going to go up high on the list here. Let me see. It's Imperial Settlers, I think, and it's been a couple years since I played, and so it's one of those another ones that you don't play it for a little while, and then you play it, and you kind of get the itch again. And I was like, oh, I could have done some things better. I could have done some things differently. I want to play it again. I want to try it again. So we got to play that again. But it's going to go above Ethnos for me. It's going to go above Barcelona. Comic Hunters. Ooh, let's go above Comic Hunters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like Imperial Settlers quite a bit. I'm going to leave it below Undaunted. Let's leave it below Undaunted for now. I'll play it again, and then I can adjust a little bit. But there we go. That's going to be it for Imperial Settlers.
Nice.
Wayne will be happy to hear that Village is going to hit my list. I know we talked about this. Was it a couple weeks ago? We kind of got into it. Was it last week? I can't remember. But we got into this a little heavy within the last couple of shows. And yeah, I raved about it quite a bit then. And again, it's another one of these games like Wayne mentioned. When I play games, I dabble in a bunch of stuff. And so I could tell about midway through this play that I was spreading myself a little thin. Oh, Carlos is ready for me. Okay. I was going to stall a little bit for you. But I liked Village quite a bit. I got to play it again because I got to figure out what I did wrong and how to play it better. Village, I'm actually going to put it above Barcelona. So it's going to go. Let's leave it under Comic Hunters. Again, it's another one of those that's hard to compare because Comic Hunters being what it is. But Comic Hunters, for the short playtime, I really like me some Comic Hunters. But I like Village quite a bit. I mean, it's there in my top 10 after just one play, Wayne. So I appreciate you introducing me to that one. And then my last one, I'm going to go for a big game that I played again earlier, actually mid-month, April 14th. I'm going to go with, there was 2 big games we played that day. And I'm going to say Eclipse Second Dawn. We played Cthulhu Wars and Eclipse Second Dawn that day. I think I like Eclipse Second Dawn better. I like the space part of it better. I do like me some Cthulhu, but I do like everything that's going on in Eclipse Second Dawn for the galaxy, but Second Dawn will work. And this is not going to be super high on my list. I'm not as big as on the big grandiose games. There's a few that I really like. Zaya is one that I really enjoy, and that would be fairly up high on my list. But this one's going to go down a little lower, Carlos. Let's see.
Yeah, number 11 is open right now, it looks like.
11 is open. So, yeah.
You can slide everything up or put that one in at 11. Yeah,
I'm going to put this down. And again, I'm just looking here since all of them moved around. I can't on this close-up I have. I'm going to put it I'm going to put it above Wildlands. I'm going to put it above Sea Salt and Paper. But you know what? I think I'm going to, right now, I'm going to put it under Hollywood Blockbuster. I liked Hollywood Blockbuster quite a bit. So
yeah, that was a fun one too.
Yep.
It's
Appreciate it,
interesting. We have a game day coming up
16.
this weekend, I think, at Michelle's, and she had listed the games that she's looking to learn, and she listed Hollywood Blockbuster. So I think I'll be teaching that to some more of the Beans and Dice crew this weekend.
Nice. So again, with all that's moving around, I don't know my list. I don't know if you're wanting to or if we're running short on time, but you can give them a rundown on my new order if you get a chance there, Carlos. I know you're trying to test out that mic.
Carlos. That mic's working.
Could
now.
you tell? Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
All right, folks. Here's Rob's updated top 20 list. Starting at number 1, Endeavor, Age of Sail. Number 2, Blood Rage. Number 3, Dune, Uprising. Scratched out the Imperium. He scratched out Imperium.
Yeah.
Number 4, Castles of Burgundy. Number 5, Undaunted. Number 6, Imperial Settlers. Number 7, Comic Hunters. Number 8, Village. Number 9, Barcelona. And at top 10, Ethnos. Number 11, Camel Up. Number 12, For the King and Me, a.k.a. Biblios. Number 13, First Rat. Number 14, The Quest for El Dorado. Number 15, Hollywood Blockbuster. Number 16, new to the list, Eclipse Second Dawn. Number 17, Sea Salt and Paper. Number 18, Wildlands. Number 19, Splendor Duel. And number 20, Architects of the West Kingdom. That's Rob's updated list.
Here we go.
Sweet.
That was fun. That was off the cuff. Yeah.
That's how I roll.
And so
I didn't want to wait
Carlos,
too long into May to do April.
Yeah.
yeah, it's good. We're up to date and we're caught up a little bit, except for Mike, I guess, right? Maybe.
I want to talk a little bit about Rob's. I know we should be opening up the phone line in just a minute here, but I want to talk about Rob's comments about Imperial Settlers, right? Wayne touched on it a little earlier when we talked about when one person says, I'm playing this game, then it itches you to play a game, right? But Rob, did you really catch the itch for the Ignacy Trevicek Portal Games systems, right? The 51st State, Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North. I don't think you caught it if you didn't pick up an expansion.
Oh,
right? Like that's like the real itch. So
you don't know Rob very well, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, man.
he ain't buying nothing.
I've got like almost every expansion for Imperial Settlers.
But-
a couple that I don't have, but yeah.
Carlos, you did pick up the itch with
I
Terraforming
did.
Mars Ares Expedition.
and Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North. So like both those games were running around in our circle. So I picked up the Ares Expedition Crisis expansion because it adds the 2-player cooperative game and or single-player cooperative, which adds events that you're fighting against. So I started playing Ares Expedition on its own. Wayne, it is still so hard to beat.
It is, but when you actually play the rules right, it's a little
the rules
easier.
correctly. Yeah. Don't make it hard
What
for
rule
yourself.
did you miss? You mentioned that in the Discord.
It's like such a dumb moment. So the action one where it's like you can flip a lake tile or increase heat or whatever, and it's like you can
where you pay credits for the standard actions.
Standard actions. It clearly says like you could do any or as many as you want. Right when you do.
No, you're supposed to. I think it's mandatory. Whenever the action phase happens, if you have the requirements for a standard action, you must do it.
Somehow my dyslexic mind, brain, eyes, whatever, just read that as once. You just do one of them. So I was only ever doing one action. I'm like, there's no way you could possibly flip all these big tiles and get all these things up. And there was I played it I don't know, 5 or 6 times, and by the 5th time, I got close, and I'm like, I hit everything perfect in this game. I did everything right. There wasn't one wasted turn. And I'm still 3 short on air and 3 short on heat and 2 short on lakes. There's no way this is ever going to happen. So then I reread the rules and I'm like, really? So then I played it and I crushed it. I beat it not crushed it, but I've beaten it I played it 3 or 4 more times after that. I beat it 2 out of the 4 times.
I missed it by one.
Yeah,
one parameter. That hurts when one bump on the oxygen track would have done it for you.
That's my problem sometimes though with solo games, right? I've gotten a little bit more into solo gaming this year. I've been playing more. I have some Final Girl and I've played a bunch of other games solo, and I'm like, but if you misread a rule, there's no one there to correct you, right? If I'm playing, because if I was playing Terraform Mars Ares Expedition with the 4 of us, you guys would be like, no, you should. You have all this money, or you have all this thing. You should do the heat up. I'm like, oh, okay. So I played, so that would be it's kind of my issue with solo gaming is you got to be on top of every little rule, because if you play a rule wrong, you're either going to make it really easy on yourself or really hard on yourself.
Right.
And so I've learned that lesson. Watch the video, play the game, reread the rules, read the rules, play the game, then kind of go back and go, okay, well, what did I do wrong, and try to look for the things I did wrong on that solo play, because it's a lot, and you're always going to miss
work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is work a little bit. Yeah, that's why I'm looking for games that are a little easier to play. So I played sorry for interrupting, Carlos, but Starship Captains tonight. I played.
I saw that.
Played it 3 times today, and it's a half-hour play with solo, and it's light rules, boom, 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 quick, done, reset, do it again. And so I'm really enjoying that kind of solo play. But anyway, so back to 51st State. Sorry.
Yeah, that triggered the Imperial Settlers conversation with Rob, which I was like, oh, I ended up picking up or playing my copy of Empires of the North. And I'm like, as much as I thought Imperial Settlers or 51st State is better than Imperial Settlers, I think Empires of the North is better than both of them. So I scooped up my missing expansion. I had there's 2 expansions that I'm currently missing for Empires of the North. One is the Egyptian clans, so I had to pick that up. That way I have all the clans. There's 1 expansion left, which is the solo campaign, which doesn't come with any clans. It just comes with like a campaign book for solo play. I'm not as interested in that one, right? There's enough scenarios to play on their own.
I did appreciate the question on the Discord when you posted that you were getting the Egyptian theme for Settlers of the North, and people were like, "What?
North Africa is a north, okay? It is a north of something."
That was good. Yeah,
I think Z Garcia had talked about that in his reviews of Empires of the North. Is as they came out with more expansions, more and more of them were not as northern as the others.
Okay.
The theme isn't as strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got bit by the bug, the itch to play a game you already own, which then triggers the itch to kind of continue completing the ownership of that set.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm waiting for you to play the Terraforming Mars cooperative, because if it's good, if you like it, then I will probably pick it up, because I think I can get that play with my wife.
I started reading the rules for Crisis, Ares Expedition Crisis, and some of the things I'm already not liking is it has you pull out so many of the cards that have restrictions, for examples, because you already start with the planet already at the top.
Yeah.
Right, so just anything with planetary restrictions. So it seems like it already takes away from a lot of the comboing engine building that I enjoy. Because it's distilling that deck down to just certain project cards. So that's why it's not out of the package yet. Like I read the rules and I didn't rush to get it to the table. Instead, I jumped over to Imperial Settlers, Empire of the North. Hello, Edmund England in the chat. By the way, the phone lines are open. 813-618-7099 is the phone number. If you want to call in, talk about your top 20 for April, games that you played in April that you want to share, definitely call in and talk about that. Edmund was in the chat in the Discord, and Edmund talked about he is going to be at Protospiel, I think it is. It's at a con. He's going to be sharing off his prototype. I think he said Norway, if I got that right. So if you're traveling, there you go. You can go check out Edmund's new prototype that he's working on, the container ship layout, kind of a polyomino style game.
Sweet.
Yeah. Thank you for saying hi in the chat, Edmund.
Yeah. I'll be going the other way.
All right, fellas, any honorable mentions for April that didn't make it on your list that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, let me look at that. Hold on.
Yeah. Wait, how do you say that? Rob, you're the most Caucasian in this group.
Wasn't Linköping something close to that? I tried last time. You said it was close, but yeah.
Sorry. I closed down my thing.
Oh, you shut down your played. Rob, do you have any honorable mentions for April that didn't make the list that were good plays?
Oh, yes, I got my list here. Hold on. I do. Well, like I mentioned already, I was teetering there with Cthulhu Wars. Cthulhu Wars is a big, grand game as well. And I like my Cthulhu themes. First time I played it was at Dice Tower, and had a great time there. We played it again at Jim's a little while back. I got trounced in it, so that may have tainted my my feeling on it a little bit this time, because it is a longish game. It's a couple hours. We played with a whole bunch of expansion content also at Jim's. Jim likes to throw in the kitchen sink when you play games with him. So that's something I've gotten, which isn't necessarily bad, but this had a lot more going on. So there was a lot more to think about. There was all these different creatures with all these different abilities. And so I kind of felt a little overwhelmed this time. And so I didn't enjoy it probably quite as much as I did play in just the base game. But so that one teetered on my list.
That's funny with Rob, because Rob, you you throw in a spy into your Dune Imperium, and suddenly, like, the world collapses.
My whole world is. Yeah. Once I get a
One
game down, don't mess with
token.
it. Yeah, don't mess with my rules. Yeah,
Jim's
figure
like,
it
let
out.
me add this and add
Yeah.
that.
We gotta get Rob a copy of Who Moved My Cheese, which is a
Yes.
book about management.
Yep.
I read that thing like at 20 years old, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's an old book now.
Another one that I teetered on mentioning, just my last one is was Welcome to. We mentioned that we played a big game of Welcome to at Nick's Game Day a couple of weeks ago, and that one I thought about putting that on my list. It almost snuck on there at 20, but not quite. I mean, it's a fun game, but I like my heavier games, and so but it was a good time. So that one I had to think for a couple minutes. But that was an honorable mention.
Right. I appreciate you mentioning that because I actually forgot that on my list of games played for the month.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so look at that.
There you go. Is that logged? Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my list now. Yeah, I think so. No thanks was I also played that. I only got it to play it once physically, and so my thing is even if I play it on BGA, I'm not going to put it on my list until I play it physically. My one physical play was at Nick's house at the game day, and it was a mixed group of like adults and kids, and so we were teaching some of Nick's kids how to play, and so not as a fun experience, and Nick's kids are all good gamers, but it's not quite the experience I think if you had like 6 adults and we were like cutthroat as can be, because like we have several games going on BGA that I could just tell in person, like I'd be cursing at people, right? I'd be like,
Oh yeah.
what do you mean you didn't take that card, or how did you take that card, right? So I want to play this more physically but it could easily make my list. Star Wars Unlimited, I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't enough. It's, to me it didn't differentiate itself from Magic or Pokemon or Lorcana or any of the other kind of card games out there. And the other one I would mention is Sagrada. I played Sagrada last month. Really, I love that game. It's fun, but it's kind of like in that Welcome to, and I think I would put Welcome to it as like, it would kind of hit my list, but not really. Like they're really solid games, and they're good filler games, and they're games that I would always go back to and play. They're kind of like that, like meatloaf, mashed potatoes, that good standard dinner that doesn't stand out because it's not, steak and pommes frites or something, right? But it's, whatever.
Like beans and rice.
Yeah.
It's there.
Beans and rice. It's
always there for
It's
you.
a staple.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, the 4 games that fell off my list because of the 4 new ones were Bonsai, Red Rising, Last Light, and In the Footsteps of Darwin. All solid games.
Ooh.
Yeah, all solid
Red
games. All
Rising.
games that might go up. I kind of agree. I want to. What's the Fantasy Realms? I need to play Fantasy Realms because I think I would love Fantasy Realms, and I think I like.
It's
Red
just
Rising.
a different type of game, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
it's Fantasy
Red Rising
Realms is more filler, where Red
Right.
Rising is like full on.
Full on.
Core
I think
game,
Red
yeah.
Rising is important. I like Red Rising because I've read the books, right? So it adds to the mystique of it. But if I could figure out a way to make Red Rising not like maybe 20 minutes shorter, 30 minutes shorter, it definitely outstays its welcome. That's why it was so low on my list.
Agreed.
But it's a good game. It just needs some mechanism to speed it up a bit. But yeah, those ones fell off. So yeah.
Now, I'm with you on the Red Rising aspect. At the 2-player mark, it's great. It's for me, it's great at a 2-player. The higher you go in count, the too much chaos, too long between your turns, it really does lose its.
I played it at 5 and it was just way too many. 3 or 4 at max. Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah.
I think when we played with Mike and Dan and Rob, the nearest Taco Bell ended up closing by the time we were done, which was a stunner for me because Taco Bell never closes. Like it's always open late.
Three
That's
hour
how
game of Red
long
Rising?
it took to get Red Rising
it was
done.
At least 2. Yeah, it was long.
That I was like, oh, okay, once we're done with this game, I'm gonna go get some Taco Bell. And I'm like, wait a minute, that Taco Bell closed. Man, this game took forever.
Yeah, it was long.
Okay.
Yeah, bit much.
All right.
So
April plays, Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't played anything in April past the 14th. So when we did the show where I actually launched my top 20, everything was in there from that. So I'd have to go back to a previous month to have an honorable mention, but it's really not worth it, honestly. And this, like I said, this past week, even though I only played 3 games, I played it multiple times of other games. I'm telling you what, man, I introduced.
Take us into May. We're gonna go into games we've been playing in May. We won't rank them. We won't tell you if they're gonna make the board or not.
Okay.
We might give you some hints.
So I played 3 games in May. 2 are already on my list, and the third one's going to make my list. So I played a number of games of No Thanks, introduced my family to that. My family in Florida, which not big gamers. That it's you kind of have to spoon feed them on some of the stuff. So they love No Thanks, and my one aunt that's on my wife's side, we're in the middle of our second game, and you could just see like the light bulb go off, and she's like, there is a ton of strategy in this game. It looks so simple on the surface, but when you really think about, do I want to take this card because I'm getting more of this, or do I want to let it go around, or do I want to force somebody else to get it because they don't have any more tokens left to bet on it, or have it pass? Like, she's just like, you could see like the gears turning in her head the whole time, and she's like, I would order it today on Amazon, but it'll get to my house before I get there. So I'm not going to order it, but as soon as I get home, I'm ordering a copy. So
that's like
another one sold on that.
That's like the best part of gaming, right? When you teach either a non-gamer or even a gamer, you're teaching a game, and you just see that, you could tell that moment that it.
Exactly. Exactly. Then I played one game of Tyrants with two of my sons. Taught it to my youngest son, and he, even though he didn't do very well, he absolutely loved the game. So we played a 3-player game of that, and then I played 2 games of Ready Set Bet, which hit on all 8 cylinders with everybody, because they were just like, that is such a fun game. But what made it so good was the announcing. You were so good at announcing. Like, I can't believe. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing the announcing. That's fine.
Did you play it on Derby Day?
We played the day before.
Okay. Cool.
Or a couple of days before, because we were just in a different location we were in Fort Lauderdale initially, and then went up to Tampa for my son's graduation. But again, like, my aunt came over, and she's like, I absolutely love that game, but man, the announcing, you were so good with that, and it was so funny to hear you, this and that, and you could build up the excitement, as the horses are getting closer to the end. And what was I going to say? So after I played it, my uncle finished the game with $0. Because he was just doing these crazy bets, and then on the last race, he's like, "Screw it, I'm going all 2-3,
get all out there,
with the high odds." And 2-3 was like so close to winning, and if it would have hit, he would have pretty much surpassed everybody. But I was thinking in my mind, I want to try and think of a house rule to implement for the final race. I was thinking about this, where what if you did a perfecta or a trifecta, for the last race, you could take one of your tokens and you give everybody a little sheet of paper, and they write down whatever 3 horses they think are going to come in first, second, and third. And then they put one of their betting tokens with that. And, you put if you hit the trifecta, and you would only get it if you hit it in that order. So maybe it's considered a perfecta. Is that a bet?
Perfecta? Yeah.
Latin's not my first language.
Right. Yeah. We'll give it a times 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
A catch-up mechanism, and you're using one of your betting tokens on it. And you keep it a secret, and then you can reveal it after everybody's done everything. And I don't know. I was just kind of thinking how to make it so that you can still kind of catch up at the end. I mean, because it's just a fun game. I mean, who cares who wins that game? It's all about the play of it. But I was just thinking,
says the guy who always does the announcing. Everybody else cares. Everybody else cares.
But that speaks to it, though. Is somebody who does the announcing isn't playing the game, but they enjoy the game as much, if not more, than the people. Man. That's a good example of a game that just people like.
Are you doing the announcer bets, Mike? Have you gone to that level where you're putting the announcer tokens down just to kind of play along with them?
I have not done that, and
I think
I read
that.
the rules. And they don't take over the squares.
No, they're just on the border. It's a perimeter.
Yeah, I have not done that yet, but maybe I will do that. I'll give that a try next time we play.
Did you go for the Kickstarter fancy version?
Oh, of course, man. Yeah,
of course.
And it was funny because I set up the game, on the table. I was like, yeah, everybody's going to want to stand, And some of my family that knows how I am with games were there, and then some of my family that doesn't know how I am. And they're like, "What? You got to take your drinks off the table." I'm like, "I don't give a shit, but whatever drinks and whatever. Go ahead and eat Cheetos. I don't care. I got a deluxe copy coming to me eventually. There you go, Rob.
Mike's going to be selling a slightly used Ready Set Bet with Cheetos.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll take it just to be able to lick the board.
That's what I can't wait. Probably not. So what's funny is there's not a ton yet on this year's Dice Tower's virtual market, but I bet you by next year there'll be a ton for sale because everyone's gonna have the deluxe copy and be looking to offload their retail copies.
Yeah, probably.
I played some games this past weekend too. Ready Set Bet was in the hopper, right? So I took it with me. It was a Sunday, Cinco de Mayo. It was my son's girlfriend's graduation party. At her house. She graduated from Florida Southwestern, so she's back in Tampa, or Brandon.
Nice.
Invited us over there. This is the family that I introduced some games to, and now they have their own library. They're playing Ticket to Ride 6 times a night, as a family. So, they're really getting into gaming. And I brought No Thanks and Ready, Set, Bet to prepare for that. But as soon as we arrived, she graduated with an associate's in science in criminology technician. The whole place was themed out like murder, like chalk line outlines, crime tape everywhere.
Bring
blood.
Murder in Hong Kong.
I had bought her a copy because I introduced it to her a few months ago,
cool.
and she loved it. So I bought her a copy for her birthday, I think it was, and they already had a copy at the house. They'd never had a chance to play it. We busted it out of the shrink, taught them how to play, and immediately it was do it again. I want to be the forensic scientist this time. And it was going, it reminded me how nice and what's adjustable. So in the game, you normally have 4 clue cards, so 4 evidence items that were left behind, and 4 means cards, 4 weapons that were left behind in front of each player. You can choose to make the game harder by making it 5 and 5, or you can choose to make it easier by making it 3 and 3. We found immediately in our first game that 4 and 4 was a bit much for the entry level folks, kind of because it was a party. People were just coming in. We moved it to 3 and 3, and it made it a lot easier. So it's adjustable, and it's just it's a murder social deduction game, hidden traitor, but no hard feelings.
Rob
it isn't like someone.
Head. What's wrong, Rob?
Social deduction.
But it isn't one of these social deduction games where you have to lie, right? That's the stress of most social deduction games. Your Shadows over Camelot. You have to lie to get people to do things. In Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, you're really kind of betting on the investigators not being able to piece it together because it's hard. It's hard to find the murderer in Deception in Hong Kong. But it was great times.
That's cool. I have not played that one yet, and I desperately want to play it. Like that's one of unlike Rob, I actually do like social deduction games and those kind of murder mystery social deduction games. But if for some reason it's one that just every time I've had a chance to play it, it just didn't work out. But I would love to give it a shot.
Well, I got a copy, so if you ever want to borrow it, let me know. And if not, it'll end up have to happen at Dice Tower.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's also funny that all of us, many of us like to just play like a ton of different games, and Carlos likes to play a game and then re-rack it and then re-rack it and then re-rack it. Yeah. And you found like your perfect family to re-rack games with, because it seems like every time you introduce them to one game, they just want to keep playing that same game over and over and over again.
My son Christian told me that when they took him to Houston for a family vacation out there, they brought their Ticket to Ride with them, and he said they played 5 times in one night. They were up to like 6 a.m. at the Airbnb, just back-to-back re-rack games of Ticket to Ride.
That's amazing. On Ticket to Ride, that's really amazing.
And I went over there, and they showed me the library. They've got all the expansions. They've picked up every expansion that they can find. The special edition with the hand painted, like the child labor hand painted trains, like it's
the 10th anniversary.
Yeah. Yes, it's crazy what they've gone to.
Nice.
I love it.
Just to cut in here real quick, is the phone turned on?
Phones are on. 813-618-7099. The phone is
it not
on.
going to voicemail? Are you sure?
Someone's got to call and tell me that, but I see no calls.
Yeah,
somebody call in and test this phone out. I don't believe.
Yeah, make sure it works. Yeah.
He's not there. No one's there in the studio to keep him honest. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So you see Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, one of the games that I played multiple times in May. You can see why May is going to be a good month for my board. I'm going to have to make some difficult decisions. Some of the other games that I played was Imperial Settlers, Empire of the North. I mean, that's going to be a tough one for the board. I played a solo and multiplayer. And then Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. Wayne and I already talked about that. But then the surprise for me, the surprise hit was zombie dice. We were heading out
great.
to. This was Saturday, so we had graduation for my sister-in-law at USF, which was chaos. But then we go to Miller's afterwards for dinner.
Which graduation did she have? What
The
day was that?
9 a.m.
On Sunday?
on Saturday.
Oh, all right. I was at the 9 a.m. on Sunday.
Oh man, it was chaos out there at
It
USF.
was. Yeah.
It was. Let me stop before
Sorry,
I thought
go ahead.
they were. Anyway, event coordination is not easy. It is not easy.
No, when, you
So
have
we went-
50, when you have 50,000 students and you got 15,000 or 18,000 graduating in a semester, especially spring semester, it's a mess.
And then they got the parking, they've got the lines, the check-in. I brought my daughter's tablet. Right, she's 2. We have a tiny little Kindle wrapped in pink that she will play on to keep her busy. And they told her, "Oh, you can't bring tablets in." We just waited an hour in line to get checked, and I can't bring a kid's tablet, but I can bring in this iPhone that can zoom into your mom's house over in Sarasota.
My mom's
Right.
house.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having to ask for a supervisor, and the supervisor said, "Oh no, that rule's not in effect today." Oh, okay. So please, God, let me in. For God's sakes, let me in.
Wow.
Hence why I no longer work at USF and I work at a better place to work as an employee.
But it's the Yingling Center. They have beer. I'm just saying. And so afterwards we went to Miller's, and I was trying to pack my bags to go, and for some reason I saw a copy of Zombie Dice sitting there, and I think I remember Rob mentioning it. Like, I got to get this one back to the table. So I grabbed Zombie Dice, took it with me to dinner, and played it at the table. That is just such a fun, light filler. You're chucking dice. There's 13 of them. You're playing the role of a zombie, and your goal is to eat brains. You're going to chuck dice. The dice have 3 symbols on them, either brain, runaways, or shotgun blast. So when you roll the dice, the result indicates what the person did to you. The dice come in 3 colors: green, yellow, and red. Green represents easy people to eat, like elementary school kids, right? Yellow represents tougher people to eat, like an adult, right? And then red represents like law enforcement or police. They're going to have a lot more shotgun symbols on the D6 than they're going to have brains, right? And if
or
the
just
green
redneck
have more
in the South.
Welcome to Florida. And the green ones have a lot more brains than they have shotgun blast or runaway. So you're going to chuck 3 dice on the table, and you're going to try to get brains and lock them in. Any shotgun blast, you set them aside. Brains, you set them aside. Any feet evasion symbols represent them running away. You set those aside. At that point, you decide if you want to keep going and push your luck. When you push your luck, you're going to pull more dice out of the cup to make a total of 3 dice in your hand again, and you're going to re-roll. But if ever you get 3 shotgun blasts, your turn is over and you lose any of the brains that you banked. You didn't lock them in, you don't keep them. So you decide how far you want to go. And the kids had a blast, Grandpa had a blast, I had a blast, and it was just enough time to play with 6 people for the dinner to be served. It was like we sat down, had drinks, played it, everyone got a laugh, and oh, look, we're done. Oh, dinner's here. Zombie Dice, Z-Man Games. It comes in a tube cup, like a cylinder, almost like the tube that they use to put your neoprene mats in. Just a small one, cup size, with the 2 plastic lids on the top and bottom. So it's got a built-in dice cup, like ready to go.
They have 4 different, 5. They have a ton of different versions because there's the Zombie Dice. Then they have one called Chupacabra, where you're
the Puerto Rican version?
Yeah, yeah. You're either the Chupacabra, and then the dice faces are like sheep, pigs, and chickens, and you have to roll, and you're trying to eat other people's
that's
dice.
hilarious.
And so there's that. Then there's the space one where it's like you're rolling either
Cows or chickens.
And then I have Zombie Dice.
Xeno's in the chat. He said there's
expansions
a
and
few
stuff.
expansions
Yeah.
there. There you go.
Martian
Rob's got
Dice.
his
Martian
copy
Dice is the other one.
Yeah.
You're either tanks, Martian planes, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I got mine. My 12-year-old's leaving for scout camp, for summer camp, in about I guess about a month now. And one of the things on the checklist with all the airtight containers and waterproof everything was some light card games to play around camp. And so I was like, oh, we got to pick out a few light games that you can take that you won't be able to destroy or whatever at camp. And his even though it said card games, he was like, Zombie Dice. I want to take Zombie Dice. I was like, oh, there you go. All right, cool. So that's one that. Yeah, he can play and teach to just about anybody.
You could take too many bones, man. That could survive a
Yeah,
camping trip.
but that
Do you
underwater.
have Rob? Do you own a copy of Ziggity?
I don't.
Cranium Ziggity? That would be because the cars are plastic, so you can't destroy those.
Oh, okay. Yep, that's
I
right.
think
Cranium.
that's
I
a really-
remember that. It was the
And
kind of that.
Carlos and I each own a copy of that Cranium
Radlanders,
Ziggity.
you could take
That's
that.
cool.
I remember when I took my son and Rob's oldest son, and I was a chaperone for the summer camp, same age group. I took a Batman love letter,
Which is worth like
And-
$150 right now, man.
What?
Yeah, you get Batman love letters like $150 to $200.
I've marred my cars. I had to use Sharpie to cover up the cleavage on Poison Ivy because there's just a bunch of boys. So I kind of drew a tank top on her.
He ran it through his Angel server whatever
did
thing.
you do like
Angel.
Angel, whatever, like a card, Good Angel, the card.
I bit Angel the cartoony
man.
cleavage off of that car.
It's worth
Unreal.
$100.
No, it's still worth $100.
There's another one, Army vs. Aliens. There's a couple different
Oh, I have-
versions of this
yeah.
that are out there. Yeah, this is another
I have
fun
the-
one.
Is that Army versus Alien?
Yeah, this one's Army vs. Alien. Yeah.
I think I have the Ninja versus Pirate one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and there's like three or four different pairings, and you can play them all interactively. I think you can mix them together or whatever. But yeah, that's
I
another little
took
fun one.
Roll Through the Ages.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
The dice game. The boys, the older boys at camp really enjoyed that one with the resource management, the roll and write feel of it, and then the civilization building. They love that. The younger boys enjoyed the Batman love letter, so they were playing that. There's a lot of downtime, surprisingly, at summer camp to play games.
Yeah. Cool.
And it was Africa hot. It was in Georgia, Thunder Mountain. It was Africa hot, bro. I was in my underwear in that yurt, me and like 5 other dads.
We're gonna have to run this show through VidAngel pretty soon, man.
No. So,
Chester mentions in the chat there, Age of
War, yeah,
War.
that's a
That's
good
another really good one I got handy right there. So that's one of
Hell
my
yeah.
favorite. Yeah, little card or dice rolling. Really screw with your neighbor kind of game, stealing stuff from
yeah.
each other. Yeah, it's a fun
I
one.
love that one.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing is a couple. I have a 10-year-old, so there's a bunch of kids, and he has like a ton of kids in the neighborhood that are all 10. And one of the parents asked the other day, he's like, I'm thinking about putting my kid in scouting. Maybe Malcolm would want to join. And I go, well, maybe, whatever. We get in the car to like leave his house because he was playing over there, and he goes, Dad, no, I'm not doing scouting. He's like, I know you're an Eagle Scout, and you would probably want me to do scouting, but I am not camping in Florida in the summer. Just out.
Yeah.
It's hot. Like
Yeah.
I'm out, man. He's like, I'm an
way.
Eagle Scout, but I grew up in the Northeast, so like even in the summertime, yeah, it's hot in the summer, but like it's not that bad. We used to camp in upstate New York and Vermont and whatever. It's like, yeah, there's no way I'm camping in the swamps and getting eaten by alligators and boas and bugs and whatever the hell in Florida. Like, no thanks.
Challenge. It's a challenge.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
All right. Any other games that you all want to talk about that you've played that we missed? If not, we'll move into news topics.
I think we talked about Terraforming Mars and we talked about Starship Captains, which is a fun game. I also played New Bedford, which is this month was a good one. It's another worker placement game. It's historical, so it's basically New Bedford, Massachusetts during the height of the whaling era, and so you have kind of there's 2 sort of boards in the game. One is you're building out the town of New Bedford. So some of your actions, you're either doing actions in the town to get resources, or you're building buildings in the town, like Chancellery or the whaling station or the docks or whatever. And then the other action is you're preparing your ships to go out whaling. And so it's kind of a historical game, and about that. What I like about it though is, yes, it's about a topic that's kind of rough because it's historically whaling. We overwhaled and you nearly destroy the species, but I think it's a good kind of teaching thing. Is the way they do it is the game starts with a bag, and in the bag there's some open sea tiles, and then there's a whole mess of whales. And as you go out, and you're the further you send your ship out, the longer they stay out, the longer they whale. But every time you grab out of the bag, you pull out tiles, and you can keep the whales for your ship, and you score those victory points. But any open sea tiles eventually go back in the bag, and so as the game moves on, that giant whaling bag that was full of all these, crazy high scoring whales gets lesser and lesser and less. And, towards that last round of the game, you may just be pulling out nothing but open sea, like, because there's no more whales left to whale. So some criticism of the game is, oh, it's glorifying this, point in history that, kind of, messed up and, kind of destroyed species of whales. But it's also, if you think about it, it's also teaching you that when you go out there and you overfish or over whale or over whatever, any kind of one species, you're going to have eventually come to the point where they're not available anymore. Right. So and I like the way that you can kind of win multiple ways, because you score victory points also by building buildings in the town. So you can kind of avoid whaling a little bit. And just concentrate on building up the town of New Bedford. So it's fun. It was one of those original, it's a Kickstarter game from maybe 10 plus years ago now, that had kind of a high production value. So it was like one of those first Kickstarters, like, all wooden pieces and wood meeples and, it was this kind of thing. It was marred, the original Kickstarter, with a lot of misprints. So it kind of speaks to a lot of the tiles were misprinted. So like the first people that got it on Kickstarter ended up getting like whole second set of tiles because many of the building tiles were kind of misprinted. So it kind of talks to like, the early days of Kickstarter, where companies were going out there and the polish wasn't quite there and the rule reading wasn't quite there, and kind of like learn a lesson of like, you make sure you have a good rule book editor and graphic artist editor to make sure you're catching all the mistakes and errors. But it's a fun game. It's relatively very tight. It's not a very high scoring game like you think. Because what's interesting is, as you're pulling these whales out, when you get them back to town, you have to pay to process them. So if you don't have the money to process them, you can't score the victory points. So it's very tight. So like it's kind of like a worker placement game where, you win with 30 points type thing. So it's not like one of those point salary type games. But it's fun. Relatively quick, because you only have 2 workers and you don't get more workers as the game goes on. So
that's it.
Yeah, you have 2 worker placement, and then you have your ships, and your ships can go whaling. So it's a very, very tight, very compact game. Not a very long game. It's only 12 turns. So it's a very, defined time period. 2 worker placements per turn and a ship or 2 per turn. So it goes pretty quick and snappy. And it has a very good sort of automa, where on the other side of the board, there's kind of captains you can kind of whale against. But yeah, it's a fun game. I enjoy it. So I'm glad I busted that back out after a couple of years. So
sounds good.
Cool.
Sweet.
The only game I played this month was Terraforming Mars, and I believe that's in my Hall of Fame, so that's not going to be hitting my list. But I'm looking to get some more to the table. I just got one of the expansions to Destinies, a game that me and my 2 older kids have really enjoyed playing through the base game. And so we're going to play through the something in sand, whatever it is. It's up there. Probably can't quite see it at the top there, but the sand one, the expansion, they've got a couple of expansions for it. And so it's pretty cool. Each one comes with their own little box of new minis. And so they're cheap little minis. They're not anything to talk about. And they're actually teeny tiny little minis, except for a couple of the oversized ones, but just a fun little, I know it's going to give me crap over it, but a fun little story-based, theme-heavy game that I don't like. But anyway,
that's fine. You don't like story-based games, and Carlos doesn't play solo games. I mean,
exactly. So except for when we do, yeah. So anyway, but so I'm looking forward to getting that. And then I picked up, I mentioned a little while back, Cthulhu: Death May Die, and so I'm really itching to get that one to the table. So I got to get into the rules of that one and get that one learned so I can play it.
Where did you get that? You said you got that from who?
I bought a retail version of it actually online.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
I know Dan was, I think you mentioned Dan was looking to possibly get rid of a copy, but yeah, I ended up just picking up the base game. So
yeah. All right.
But
I was hoping you didn't get it from Dan, because that's where I'm hoping to get my copy.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So I know I'm going to love it. I'm going to want all the expansions. So it can get expensive with all the stuff. But I bought the base. The base, I think, was like $80 or something. So I'm looking to dive in with that, see how much I like it. I talked to Jim about it. Jim has played it, and he said he didn't love it. He actually got rid of his copy. But there were some other games that he liked better in the Cthulhu. But a lot of people seem to like this one. So I'm hoping I'll love it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the chat, Kyle Jeeves.
Hey, go.
Joining in and says he's late, but he's here just after 10 because that's when things get hot.
Spicy.
After hours.
Nice.
VidAngel no longer works after 10 p.m.
Yeah. Shut that sucker down.
You talking about Destinies, Rob, made me when I posted that sale that oh man, I had my finger on the trigger. I was ready to go all in again, even though I did I did the Kickstarter for it and ended up selling it. I didn't go all in on the Kickstarter, but man, I really wanted to on that sale. That would have been
Yeah.
I know it's just too much though, man. I know I got too many story-based games I got to get through first, but
Yeah.
there'll be other
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, it's not super long. Each of the like the base game comes with I think 4 scenarios. Well, there's a starter scenario and then there's a 4 scenario campaign. Each one's about 2 hours, so it's not too long. So going through the whole campaign, all 4 of them, probably looking at 8 hours. We split it up over 4 different plays, 4 different nights. But yeah,
That's not
and
bad.
I do kind of like that it's contained. It's a little campaign. It kind of runs together. One thing affects the next one, but it doesn't go on forever. It's in. I guess one of the downsides is that it is kind of a one-shot thing. You can replay it, and some things can change a little bit. But once you kind of know where things are, where to go to
Oh,
do the things, it's kind of a
yeah.
one-run kind of thing. So, but it's still a
Okay.
lot of fun.
All right.
So what are we moving on to? We got any news stuff going
Not
on?
a lot of news topics out there
Yeah.
today.
Okay.
I think things have kind of slowed down a little bit in the news. But there were some articles that I had highlighted or saved for myself that I wanted to talk about just because some cool stuff. But here's an article from Dicebreaker. It was April 20th when this article came out, so it's a little bit late, but it was lower on my priority. It's about an upcoming mobile app that wants to do away with and Rob's going to like this, with the human room for error and leave no question about whether your shot connects. So, Rob, think X-Wing, think
Okay.
Wings of Glory, right?
Okay.
So there's an app that's coming out on Kickstarter. It started on May 7th, so good timing. It's May 9th, so it's 2 days after the Kickstarter came out for this. It's a tech company that has an app where you take a picture of the situation on the table,
Cool.
and knowing the items that are in play. So right now they're working with Ares Games, the publisher of War of the Ring, and also the publisher of what Rob would know, World War I and World War II aerial combat game Wings of Glory, which I play with Rob and Rob's dad. We've played that game many times. But you snap a picture of the tabletop with your phone because it knows the pieces, it knows the arcs of fire and the distance. It will tell you, here are your targets that are available to be shot at.
Nice.
So there's no, like when we play with Zeno, we're like, go ahead, Zeno, whatever you want. Just,
Yeah.
whatever you say.
There's no measure that. Oh no, it was out. Hold on, measure that again. I'm going to bump the table once or twice. And yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's what,
there
see,
you go.
y'all didn't use one of those like laser level things.
Oh, we did. Yeah. When we played X-Wing,
like,
but again, still,
inches on
even
them
with
and stuff.
that, yeah. I mean, you're like, I just twisted just a little bit. One, oh, now it's in. Oh, a little bit the other. Oh, no, it's out. So
I got my
even
laser.
that, yeah. But that's good. I like the idea. Technology, right? Technology making our gaming experience better. I hope.
Yeah.
Some would disagree with that, but
Yep. They figure once they get this down pat, then they're talking about with Ares working on their naval game, Sails of Glory. Max Burns taught us that here at the house, Rob, if you remember.
Yep, I remember.
So many other games were, think about like a Warhammer or any other miniatures game where line of
Mech
sight.
Warrior.
Yep.
Yeah,
All those types of
Yeah,
games.
cool.
So someone's giving this a shot. I like the idea of it.
that's good.
Cool.
Stop
I
me
know.
if you got a topic.
Like I said, I know I posted 2 articles today about so Tokyo Game Market got purchased, and another big Tokyo or Japanese game company got purchased, like one by maybe Simon, and then
Japan was Simon. I
Japan
believe. I
Games.
remember
Yeah,
that one. Yeah. Mhm.
Simon bought Japan Games. So I think that's we've seen for a couple of years now sort of the hotness or the desirableness of a lot of the games coming out of Japan, and sort of how hard they are to get. And I know Mike can speak to this. Is like this whole like group buys where like one dude goes to Japan and buys like cases of games and brings them back and then sells them. And so
Pack
I think
mule.
that pack mule stuff. And I remember seeing that there was a dude in the UK that had like a whole, like his whole company is going to Japan and buying all these games, and then they sell you like a box, and the box will have like 8 to 10 games in it, and it's whatever. And so we've seen basically multiple companies now in Tokyo Game Market, which is like their Gen Con-ish, UKGE or those things, got purchased. So I think like what we might see is in the next year or two, availability of Japanese-based games becoming increased, because now Western companies or other companies are interested in that, and they're buying that product because it's the hotness. So it was kind of interesting to see that it's still hard to get some games out of Japan on a regular basis. So this may change that. I don't know, Mike, if you have some thoughts there, because I know you're big into those games.
I mean, my legs fall more into the trick takers from Japan. But yeah, I mean, they're very hard to get, and the ones that are here, I mean, there are a few stores here in the States that specialize in selling especially trick takers from Japan, and their stock isn't always in, and with the kind of mentality that all of us have nowadays, where we want it and we want it now type of mentality. This may help with that, and I think it's good that it'll possibly introduce more people to these types of games, that maybe wouldn't care about them because they're just so hard to get a hold of, and they'll just move on to other things. But I just hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't super saturate the U.S. market, where it's just like commonplace. And I don't know, man. I like finding those rare games that and introducing people to those rare games. Not because it's like, I've got this and you don't. It's more like, check this game out that's so hard to find. I think you're gonna love it. I hope you can get a copy of it. Somewhere. I love. I just like introducing people to new stuff like that. So. But yeah, I mean, it happens. The companies get bought out by bigger companies. It's the nature of the beast, and that's really any industry mostly. So, yeah, that's my feeling on it.
It has been a hot topic. I wouldn't call it a hotness because of the quantity is still very low on the number of games they're selling. But I'm seeing more and more content creators talking about those Asian or Japanese specific games, those tough to find trick takers that they're getting introduced to. So it feels like it is a specialty, like a specialty niche. I can see why why CMON wants to get in on that early.
Sure.
Yeah, makes sense.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, let's use Nikosu dice as the thing. Like, Mike, you were like on that bandwagon like a year ago, right? Like, I think you mentioned it on this show. I think before I heard, I mean, you guys know I listen to like 25, 30 different podcasts, and I watch everything on YouTube because that's all I do, like, while I'm working. It's surprising. But like, no, it's interesting. Like you were talking about Nikosu dice like a year ago, and like over the last year, like every single podcast, every single YouTube channel, anything I've like, at one point or another, everyone else has talked about this amazing hard to get trick taker from Japan, Nikosu dice.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that, content creation is a niche market, right? And not everyone listens to Dice Tower and, Blue Peg, Pink Peg, and, and a million other YouTubers. But they're big enough, like when all of them, right, have mentioned this game. So we're talking 25, 30 different content creators. If you look at that audience, how this game hasn't gotten a more widespread release in the United States yet is crazy. How long it's taking for this game to like get out there, right? Like how, like it's crazy.
12 chip trick, right? You brought that to us, and then now it actually has a box and cover art, and it's a real game now.
Well, Mike does that. Vindication, Circadians. I mean, these are all games that I had never heard of before he brought them up, and then they started hitting everywhere. So yeah, he's got a knack for that. He finds the good ones.
But I bet you within the next year, Nikosu Dice has a American release from an American company, and it becomes like a hot thing for at least a minute. Like it has to be, because that's the one that really like. So I've talked about it on the show a few times. In the next month or so, my whole family were going on a vacation to Japan, and I've been researching like games to find. That's still like number one on the list to like get a copy and bring it back, right? It's like a year, like you talked about at least a year and a half ago on this show, and it's still like you can't really get copies in the States.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
let's talk some innovative games. Here's a new story from Dicebreaker again. They publish some good stuff, and they're fast. Like Dicebreaker's quick when they jump on it. April 30th, they put out an article about this pocket-sized set is like Game Pass for board games. That's the title of the article, giving you something new to play every week. And in this article, they talk about a game billed as a board game library by GameLib Pocket. It's the brainchild of Leandre Prost and Gramis Edition, a French tabletop studio.
Well done, sir.
I'm trying. It says, I wanted to design a polyvalent as kit as possible, capable of pleasurably playing an unmatched number of games, both traditional and brand new, with a minimal amount of components so that it can still be easily carried, Prouse wrote in the campaign page. It says that each box contains 4 6-sided dice in 2 colors, black and red, 2 wooden meeples, 40 wooden cubes, and a similar color split, and then a deck of 54 playing cards with some odd designs on them that accompany your standard numbers and suits. And what they're saying is that those who back the project will start receiving digital PDF instructions in November of this year, 2024, 1 a week for a full calendar year. So it's like a quaint tabletop version of Xbox's Game Pass. Okay. So you get like this kit, this set. And then each week you're going to get a PDF with, here's either a classic game, right? Because they're like Bridge or Rummy, and or here's a new game that you can play, some new rule sets that are created weekly that you can play. The campaign, it says, includes eventual additions like Backgammon, Fox and the Hounds, Go, so a bunch of standard traditional games, but you're also going to have access to the Game Lib Pocket Library that will give you new games that designers can publish and provide to them, almost like this. There's a video game system called Playdate. It's
I almost backed that, man.
I've been chasing that bad boy down, Mike. But it's an indie style e-ink old school gaming like handheld. But the key of it is, yes, with a crank. Indie gamers, publishing indie gamers are putting out games like every week for this thing that you can download. So it's not the components that really are a stunner. It's going to be finding those gems of games that people create for that platform as time goes on.
Kind of sounds like the Steve Jackson Cheap Ass Games where they have the triangle.
Pyramids. Yeah, pyramids. Yeah.
The pyramids, yeah.
Pyramids? Yeah, where they, like you buy a set of the pyramids or the triangles and then
100 different games or something you can play with them. Yeah. They go all the way to like chess and some classics like checkers with the pyramids, but they've had all these other games people have invented. I was going to say, it sounds exactly like that to me. So, yeah, real similar. Yeah.
Whereas pyramids is just cones that Russian nest dolls set into each other. Mm-hmm. This one has cards, meeples, dice, and cubes. Okay. So you can see how designers have more space to play in to create those games. I just like the innovation of this, the idea that someone's trying something different and it's not very expensive at all.
That's kind of cool. Like, it's kind of interesting. It's like the whole Steve Jackson Cheap Ass Games way back in the day is they would sell you the rule set, assuming that you had the meeples, the dice, whatever. Like, they would just give you a cheap game and then assume that you can just get meeples from somewhere. So it's kind of like the opposite. Is like, we're going to give you this set of pieces, and then from that, people can just, like, they know that there's a set amount of pieces. Go ahead and design a game using those. So it's kind of like that 18 card thing. Like, you know, use the same 18 cards, whatever, or 52 deck of cards. I like that concept. And I think there's a huge market for that because, yeah, there's people like Mike and I and other people that love the super high end, like, you know, Kickstarters with like a million things. And there's people that are even way crazier than us that go, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in these giant mini Kickstarters. There's just as many people that like would like simple games that give me a set of 50 pieces and then there's 100 games I can use with it. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, like, my problem with stuff like that, and I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, I think it's awesome that they're doing that. It's like, when you really think about it, how many of those games are going to be
good
ones that you're going to go back to?
Yeah.
You know, you'll probably have a few of those gems, you know, like you were saying earlier, Carlos, where it's like you're kind of, okay, well, this week wasn't that great, we'll see what comes out next week type of thing. But then you'll find that one where you're just like, oh wow, somebody created a game using only these components and it freaking rocks. Like, that's the excitement that I would get from something like that, where I would hope that, you know, hopefully there's at least a handful of good ones that come out of something like that.
The tough part for me is being more of a story-driven, theme-driven gamer, right? The story piece of it, even if the game is mechanically awesome, and I know that a Rob or a Mitch, they don't care about the components, right? Yep. They can play with black and white pieces of paper. I won't come back to it as often. I might enjoy it, give it its praise, but it's not going to draw me back because the story's not going to be there. Like, what real stories can you create with just those components. That'll be what I'll be interested in seeing. Like, who creates the first dungeon crawler out of that deck of cards, meeples, and dice?
But I think, the one thing about something like that, though, that might be interesting is when you travel, right? Like, so I'm going on a 2-week vacation, right? I want to bring games with me, but it's hard to bring a ton of different games. But with that system, what you're talking about is I could literally just bring that one little box with the pieces, and I could have a million games to run through at night in hotel, after we, that there's kind of a niche for that, is like being able to take that on the road and have 100 games to choose from to play with that one set, as opposed to trying to pack 5 or 6 different games to go.
Yeah, here's a copy of 12 chip trick that I created when Mike was Mike, were you down here when we did this? I can't remember.
Yeah,
you were still in town.
You made
yeah,
a copy for me, and with your laser cutter.
But then there was another game called Push It that uses the same buttons, like the same crokinole buttons. So what I ended up doing was creating like a dual purpose version where you can play Push It with the same buttons that you're playing 12 chip trick with. So it's like
cool.
it's kind of like that dual purpose idea, Wayne, that you're talking about, is multi-purpose, one bag, one set of buttons. I can play a couple of games with them.
Sweet.
Speaking of Steve Jackson games, there was an article about them having some losses. The company ended up saying that it has addressed some of the issues that led to the losses for the year. It said that its gross sales were $3.5 million, even though the company had originally reported $4.7 million. But they have addressed it. The yeah, it was a rounding error. It was a rounding error.
Round.
The company noted a number of staff changes, including a new CEO with Phil Reed stepping back, a new director of marketing, and a new managing editor joining the company. That's a lot of shakeup for one company.
It's a big company, though. I mean, they've been around a long time.
But you can see how that could impact their revenue. At the end of the day, those C-suite level of leadership getting turned over is a lot of shakeup for everyone below.
Yeah. But I mean, especially with like Steve Jackson games, that they've been around
100 years,
at least 25 years, right? And I remember they've had ups and downs, right? And they kind of just always chug along. Like I think they're one of the ones that's like, if tomorrow you told me Steve Jackson's game was bankrupt and like filing Chapter 11 and like folding, I'd be like, really? Damn, that'd be kind of shocking, because they kind of like, they've never overstepped themselves, so they've always been able to write correct when they've had issues in the past. So kind of feel like they've never really like gone crazy, but who knows?
It's another one of those stories in that vein of declining sales, declining revenues, but not bad. Like we're not in a bad place. This isn't an indicator of where we're headed.
Yeah.
And then the Mensa Publishers winners for 2024. The Mensa Select Seals came out.
Yeah. Footsteps of Darwin's on that, right?
Yes, they are. 5 games were awarded the seal for 2024. It was Veil of Eternity from Renegade Games, In the Footsteps of Darwin from Hachette, Wandering Towers from Capstone. So far, all of them sound like
they're all great games.
First in Flight, historical aviation board game from Genius Games, and Abduction, spelled weird. That's why I said it weird. It's spelled weird. From Very Special Games. It says that Renegade is a serial winner with 2 titles on the chart from the last time that Mensa reported their seals in 2019. Renegade had won a game as well for won a Mensa seal as well.
Yeah. I really want to do First in Flight.
Me too.
Yeah,
that game sounds cool.
Sam's a big fan of that one. She plays that a lot.
That's the historical one, the one based off of the Wright brothers.
Brothers, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I guess it's got a fun push your luck mechanism. I talked about that earlier, that I like push your luck in games. So yeah, I think I would like that one quite a bit. But yeah,
I'm really big on the New Bedford, the Darwin, In the Footsteps of Darwin. Anything that can teach you a little something while you're playing, it just kind of hits on 2 aspects of my desire, which is to learn and to play.
Yeah.
I'm not going to learn a lot about this next one on this next article, but I'm excited. The Mandalorian Adventures
Looks
don't know if y'all-
good.
Yeah, no Star Wars game.
Looks
but
nice.
it's Corey Konitzka. Like Corey's
Yeah.
back. Like
Yeah.
I got a little depressed when Corey left Fantasy Flight Games and started his own studio because he went a little nuts in the type of games. I guess the studio that he started. Where's the list of games here? I've got them in here somewhere. But they were nowhere near what I desire to play from Corey Knizia.
Because didn't he have not Solid Snake? What's the
3,000 Scoundrels and then the Initiative.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about he was doing an IP based one for Solid Snake is the main character from the PlayStation video game.
Yes.
That
That one. Yeah, that game.
Oh my god, what game is that?
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid.
Gear
Thank you.
Solid.
Jeez.
I know he had spent.
Metal Gear.
I
We
played
knew
the
it.
hell out of those games forever, man. He had been working on that for years, right? And then something happened where it like didn't come out, or the company was going to do it, like didn't do it, so they moved to somebody else, or I don't know, it was a mess. But he's been working on that for a while. Sorry, go ahead, Carlos.
No, this one looks good. This one is, it's not a campaign game, is the way I understand it, but it is story based, and it's based on the Mandalorian show, and it's going to be very episodic. So it's going to feel like you were playing through an episode of The Mandalorian where you and like IG-88 show up to town and got to shoot everyone to win the game. It's going to have things that you do cooperatively, but it's also going to have modes for like a trader or like a competitive version. So it's going to have different modes available. I think that the big, a storybook for the board. So almost like Jaws of the Lion. Like I love that.
Okay.
And the idea that behind it, like what their number one goal was, to make a game that anyone who watched the show can be like, ooh, a Mandalorian game, and be able to get into it. But then also add these modes and ways of playing that other real gamers can be like, okay, there's enough depth in here for me to enjoy it. And they're really hoping that in most groups, there'll be one gamer-ish person who can be the one to read the rules, learn it, and teach it.
Interesting.
Everything looks good on it so far. The artwork looks great. It's Hidden Motives is the name of the mode. And at the start of the round, the table gets a card that tells them whether or not they are working with or against the Mandalorian. So you have some hidden role games.
I like that.
Not a campaign, it says, but players are expected to play sequentially. It's more of a sandbox experience.
Yeah, it looks good. I saw just the little motion advertisement they put out with the pieces popping up and down on the board and playing some of the cards and stuff. The art looks good. It's Mandalorian. It looks good.
And along those lines, the new Star Wars deck building game.
Oh yeah,
Got an
that's good
expansion.
news.
Yeah.
It kind of
We got corrected from
surprise.
all the navel gazing we were doing last week about it'll never get support.
That
I
was
kept saying, yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have been the most thing about like it's never getting an expansion.
Debbie
and then-
Downer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Debbie Downer. And it was good. What's interesting is like I am a huge Star Wars fan and don't own a single Star Wars game.
Mm.
So I need to correct that this year. I think by the end of this year I need to figure out what like one Star Wars game needs to get put in my collection.
It's not Star Wars Unlimited, right? I think I
No,
heard you feel that way.
It's not Star Wars Unlimited because I'm not willing to put the sink into it, right? As far as money, like I'm not buying 50 million decks, and I think I need something that's more than just 2-player. Like I don't. I have a ton of really good 2-player games, so Star
Problem
Wars
is this:
Unlimited-
once you get out of that 2-player Star Wars realm, then you start racking in the hours.
Yeah.
because you
It's
have
like
either
The deck builder is nice at about an hour, but it's only 2 players.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got
I have the
Rebellion,
one-
2 players,
oh,
couple hours.
Rebellion's 2
yeah.
players. That's what I'm saying. A lot of the Star Wars games end up being 2-player. Really, the only multiplayer games you have are.
I have the one that's like
Outer Rim.
Pandemic.
Oh yeah, I still
Oh,
have that
yeah.
in Shrink.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played that yet,
That was
but I
supposed
heard
to be
it's
good.
really good.
I haven't played it, but
Wayne's giving us the whatever eyes.
No. I was like, he still has it in shrink. I'm like,
I'm still in shrink. Oh yeah.
Oh, because it's still in shrink.
Get out of shrink.
Mine's not in shrink. It just hasn't hit the table.
I forgot I own that. I gotta bust that out.
oh, there you go.
There
Carlos
you
will
go,
play
yeah.
it 10 times solo by next Thursday.
Yeah.
I still got to get through some Imperial Settlers and Ares Expedition.
Yeah.
Pablo's comment
the
there.
thing is, even like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, 2 IPs that I love, but so many of their best games are 2-player or best at 2, right? Maybe we'll say best at 2. But that's not really where most of my games are played. Like, and if I'm playing a 2-player game, I want it to be pretty quick 2-player game, like Targi and Lost Cities and those kind of things. But yeah.
Pablo does have some good comments in here. He says, if it's like the show, it'll probably be a quest inside of a quest inside of a quest.
Yeah.
Right.
It reminds me of the quote in Fallout. The character played by Ganon, I think his name is, where he says, the one thing that we can guarantee is there's going to be something taking us off like the campaign trail, like a side quest. Like, always look out for the side quest.
Yep.
Pablo says that he played Star Wars Villainous on May the 4th. He played Vader, was forced to discard Palpatine, had nothing to do for the rest of the game.
Now
I hate the game.
Funny.
He yeeted Palpatine into the shaft.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like either they're 2-player games or they're big minis games, because you have X-Wing and Armada, right, and those stuff.
The new one that just came out, that's more minis based.
Shatterpoint.
Shatterpoint.
Yeah, Shatterpoint.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I can't think of any.
I mean, there's a million good games in those IPs, but they do tend to be very directed in who you can play with, you know.
Well, because there's really only 2 sides in the Star Wars world. Maybe 3 if you add the Syndicate.
Yeah.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Chris from Texas. How y'all doing?
Glad that somebody made it a call-in show.
Thank you for saving
I
us.
tried. I was like,
man.
I don't want to interrupt the Star Wars discussion. I was trying to wait till it gets on the call. I was like, I think it was a pretty good time.
It's always a good time.
Any time is a good time with the Coleman Show.
Yes.
Right. So what's going on, Chris?
How y'all doing? Not much. Just we had a lot of rain today. It's been real humid all day, and then we had like bad thunderstorms and heavy winds, lots of lightning. So that's all blown over. It's moved east of us, so that's good.
Yeah, a lot of flooding in Texas this last couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, East Texas was hammered hard. I think like you said, a couple weeks ago, they got hit really bad. So I'm glad we didn't have any flooding where we're at. But,
it's a good time to stay inside and play board games.
yeah, exactly. So it's a good segue here. So since we're getting close to summertime, I thought I'd ask you guys, what is your favorite travel games that you like to play when you travel, that are portable, that you enjoy playing when you're on a road trip, you're going somewhere, take with you easily and not have to take up too much space?
For me, just one that comes. Well, it looks like the other guys are thinking here. Lost Cities, the card game, is a great one for me. I've talked about that many times on the show, but just basically a deck of cards. It comes with a little board that just kind of designates the different colors, the areas where you can play those. But you can. There's no need to have certain colors in certain places, as long as you just place 5 different colors in 5 different piles. But that one's a fun one for me. I can take that anywhere, just a deck of cards. I like the slightly oversized tarot kind of size cards. I think it's kind of cool. Also small enough to where you can still fit it in just about anything, but still a little bigger than your standard deck of cards. So it kind of looks cool. Has a little bit of table presence. People see you playing it and they would come over and take a look, see what's going on. But that's one of my favorites. Pretty real easy, portable, easy to teach. The only thing I don't like about it is that I guess in the standard game you play 3 rounds and you take scores at the end of each of the 3 rounds and then you total them up at the end. These days with cell phones or whatever, everybody's got a little calculator you can put on there, but otherwise just a napkin and a pencil or a pen and you can write those scores down. But other than that, I find that easy to play just about anywhere.
Yeah,
good choice. Yeah,
that's a good one. I think the issue there is it's only 2-player. I think we've actually mentioned a few of them tonight. Is Zombie Dice or or Chupacabra or Martian Dice? Those are all good choices. Renaissance War is a great one. I actually every vacation since I've been on the Beans and Dice crew, I have brought the laser cut copy of Can't Stop that Carlos made.
Oh yeah.
So Can't
Nice.
Stop, the regular versions are bigger, but Carlos made like this little I don't know, 4x4, 5x5 inch laser.
It was
cut.
my first blush at trying to make that game, and I felt like I made it too small.
And you gave it to me, and I love it. And like I literally have, and he cut like little tokens, and so he gave me like 5 sets of the tokens and this little board. And I have brought that on every vacation for the last 2 years, and I have played it on. And so, like a travel version of Can't Stop, which is not something that is sold to the public, but Carlos made me one, has made it to every vacation that have gone in the last 2.5 years, and has been played. The other one that we take everywhere the last year or two has been Ticket to Ride, the little boxes. I think I have London and New York, and so I generally take that with us because it's Ticket to Ride in a tiny little box. So I'm looking for games that I can play 3-player, because I usually when I travel it's me, my wife, and my son. So I'm looking for 3-player games that are very small, very quick. So it's the little Ticket to Ride boxes, that little Can't Stop version that Carlos brought, and then Ziggity is another one that I bring every time, and War. Those are the 4 that I bring. Basically, there's standard I pack for vacation. Those are the 4 that get thrown into my bag every time.
Right now, for me, it's the Azul. I'm cheating here. The travel edition.
That's a good one. I gotta
of
get that.
Azul. It's like this. It's mini. I think it's called mini. Azul mini. But it comes with trays for holding the displays, the factory displays. But then your trays for your Azul board is plastic inset with little dimples, and the bottom of each of the plastic squares has a little slot, like a Lego piece, so they all kind of like plug and play onto your board, so you can almost hold it upwards a little bit. It could be at an angle. You can hold it in your hand. The score trackers are on these little sliding dials, so you can keep your score without having to move that stupid cube on the scoring track of Azul that I hate so much. But this lets you play Azul in the car while driving. It's happened while waiting in the car line for the kids at school. We've played Azul, and because it comes with a button closing bag, the latest game to jump in here with it is a copy of Scout. So now I've got 2 games that can play anywhere between 2 and 5 players, and low to medium complexity with small table space. Azul Mini and Scout are my nominations for best travel games.
Nice.
All right. This, I don't think anybody's going to argue with this one.
Skull.
I saw Rob grabbing his game, so I figured I'd run him to my
Oh
closet.
yeah, there you go.
My
Yeah,
game.
okay.
Skull is a classic.
You can even play that at Denny's.
You can play it at
Yeah.
Denny's.
We did that.
It's not necessarily the smallest box, but it is a pretty decent small box that you can just grab and go. Doesn't take up too much space. And the other one that just kind of popped into my head, I did this a while ago, where I took, and the thing that made me remember it was, I remember, I think it was Dice Tower East, when we all went over to, was it Perkins across the street that we all went to, and you broke out Ganshan Clever?
Oh, yeah.
And we all played Ganshan Clever at the table. And I own 3, the 3 versions of it. So there's like Ganshan Clever, there's whatever the second version is, and then the third one, which really didn't hit with a lot of people. But what I did was I actually printed out and laminated the sheets for all 3 games, and I have all 3 games that fit in the one Ganshan Clever box. So I just have the 3 sets of dice. You only need 1 set of markers, and then all the sheets, so that you can hand them out to the people, and then the cards from the third version. So I've got like 3 games in one little box that I can grab and bring with me. So
I very
those are
much
my 2
remember that
choices.
play.
Oh,
We
that
had
was
pie.
fun, man.
We had pie.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Village Inn. No, it wasn't Village Inn. It was
Perkins.
Perkins. That's right.
Yeah.
Perkins.
Oh,
I
Bob's
grabbed
got
one
a
more
good
off
one.
the shelf. You mentioned that. So
Yep.
silver and gold, I know, is one Carlos likes also. This is one you can play just anywhere. This is just a deck of cards. They're not laminated, but they're a shiny finish card with just some markers. You could play this in the car, really. I mean, if you had one person just hold up the card that's selected each time, everybody's got their own little cards on their lap. You could sit there and play this in the car, at the bar, just pretty much anywhere. So this game, this is a fun game to take, and this plays. How many people does this play?
2 to 4.
2 to 4. Yeah, 2 to 4. So
Yep.
yeah,
That's the one tough part for me with that one because I was looking at that, but it's like I want to carry with me a game that plays at least 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Because you have a basement
That's
team.
that's a good segue.
What about you, man? What are your favorite travel games?
Well, I have a good segue there. So Carlos wanted a game that plays 5 that travels well, and my number one game plays 5. It's 2 to 5 it's called Archaeology: The New Expedition by Phil Walker Hardy.
Yeah, I'm hearing about
Praise
That's a
that.
good one.
Yeah.
Praise be.
Praise be.
Yeah. I just took it with me on a camping trip with my son, taught it to 3 other people because my son played with me. And then they wanted to play it again. We played it 2 times in a row. Plays fast. It's just a deck of cards. And then it has these little small rectangular shaped cards. Tiles. And so we got the deck of cards and the tiles. And that's all it has. Small box. Plays 5. Scales really well. Like you take out certain cards go in the deck if you have 4 players. Or if you have 5 players, you add, so it scales the deck based on the number of players. It's got great scaling.
Nice.
That's my number one.
Heard a lot of good stuff about that one.
And then, yeah, I highly recommend that, guys. I think if y'all haven't played, I think Carlos said,
Isn't that the one with the sandstorms that steal half your stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You want to hoard everything, but you shouldn't because if
Yeah.
the sandstorm comes, it takes everything. That was a
I
good
just
one.
played it the other day at the house, and my strategy was sell everything as fast as I could as long as I got a decent return on my investment. And I had 80 something points. I think it was 86 points. It's I think a record high score for me. And I just basically would get a good amount of, like at the beginning, I got lucky. I got 2 maps. So I was able to, find some treasures, and I got more coins, and I sold 4 coins on like the first turn. So obviously I had a very lucky hand starting out. But then after that, I would just continue to get maybe a set of 3 or a set of 4, sell it immediately, and then I had like 1 card in my hand or 2 cards max, and the sandstorm would hit. And that's how my whole strategy was, just sell quickly, and it worked out. Fun game.
Nice.
I think just a heads up there, like I had to click through like 5 different versions because there's archaeology, then there's archaeology something and they're all
The
Phil
new
Walker Hardy
expedition.
games. And it took me a while to
I
find
know.
this 1
They've
to 5
released
version.
it. They've reprinted it. Well, and the new expedition adds those tiles, so you get some replayability. Every game you play, you can change out the tile, and it's a different special ability for when you use your treasure maps.
Cool.
Very cool.
It's pretty neat. So that's one. Another one, just for 2 players that I've taken a lot with me, is Jaipur.
That's a great one.
Nice 2-player, and then
But the
another one, if
chips,
you
like
guys-
I can't
Oh,
get
go ahead.
over the chips. Like there's so much work with
Resetting
the
Stroud.
chips.
Yeah. There's a
That's
good
it.
app
Yeah.
for it, too.
That's all you can say.
Yeah. You're right. And you got to have a good table to play it on. Actually, there's a good app for Jaipur, which I have on my phone. I played that a lot with my son. The app's really good.
And that's
So,
the thing is I
somebody
played
else
the
played
app and I'm like, man, I really like this game. And I was so looking forward and I got it to the table and I'm like, oh my God, the chips, like having to reorganize and reset between rounds.
Yeah.
Like
You get better at it the more you do it. Believe it or not, I can do it pretty quick. But the first couple times I played the game, it definitely slowed it down.
But it's a solid mechanism. It really feels like a
Yeah.
much meatier game than it should be for what it has. Like it feels almost like a full board game inside of a few cards and a bunch of chips.
Exactly. This is one that I mentioned one time on the show previously, and I think you guys need to check it out if you want a nice lighter game that's portable. That's actually pretty fun. Has contract fulfillment, and you move this little rocket around. It's called Space Park.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I freaking
Mike
love
taught
us
Space
that.
Park, man.
Mike taught us
Oh,
that.
he did? Oh, cool.
I love that game, and there are very few people that I introduce it to that do not like it. Once they understand the rocket movement like your action selection and the rocket movement, then it clicks. And it plays pretty quick if you're good at it. So yeah, I really love this game.
First to 20 points. Isn't that fun? I picked that one for you.
Yeah.
First one to 20 points, and then it's got good interplayer interaction.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like you said, the robot's probably the one that throws people off. I think that's the hardest thing about the game, is to understand what the robot does and what you get. And just kind of explain that, like you said, once you get those rules down, those couple little nuances, and it plays fast and easy.
So if this is the right game, I'm sure Henry Audubon did it. That's the same guy that does
that's
Parks and Cosmoctopus. So the games. Yep, Parks and same guy.
Yeah. The one thing that people don't realize with this game once they play it, usually they don't pick up on it the first couple of times, but those the free pass movement tokens, those are like gold in this game, man. Those come into play. Like if you could get a bunch of those, you can pretty much run the game yourself and like just own the game, because you can put the rockets just basically anywhere you want to put them and take that action. Very important part of that game that a lot of people overlook.
Nice. Michelle Gallagher.
You go to that robot space.
Yes. And where you place the robot is that's a big boon there too.
So usually we have Michelle here in the chat saying there's a big fan of Space Park. I've never played nor heard of this game, so apparently this is new to me. I'm a fan of the designer, so I'm down. I need to find a copy of this. So, but I've already bought a game like 10 seconds ago. So from
done for the night.
I might be done for the night. I already bought Mini Azul because that's coming on the plane.
Oh, there you go.
I totally forgot about like Mini Azul. I'm like, how have I not? I gotta buy a copy of that. So yeah, I just bought a copy on Amazon. So, but
nice.
I like it. I like this. I like Space Park better than Splendor and better than Century Spice Road, because you're doing that contract fulfillment. But I just think it's much more interesting. In a smaller box too.
Yeah, and the cards that give you, some cards you're really trying to put down because they give you special powers, or they give you more points when you collect the different types of shields, and yeah, I really do enjoy this game.
All right, okay, I got two more for you guys. Everyone probably knows this one. Dice to do is just gonna have a 2-pack, and I have several 2-pack boxes. I have like the big box. I have all of them from season 2, but
you say Dice Throne?
You cut out there for just a second.
I'll just take,
okay.
Oh, yeah. Let me go back from here. Yeah, I'll just take two boxes or 2 characters and stick them in the 2-player box.
Nice.
And then just take that with me. And then like last time we did it, I just played one character, then we swapped, and then we played another game where I played the other character.
Sure.
So you just pick 2. That little 2-pack works really well. It's portable. A fun little game for 2 players.
Yeah, even though for me the mechanics aren't anything super exciting, that production value, like it just stands out on the table. The artwork, the dice.
Have you seen the X-Men? Have you seen the X-Men set that's coming out this year?
I have not.
Y'all
and
need
I
to check that out.
I shouldn't.
That's the one game I backed this year. I think I backed it one more. I think maybe I backed 2 games this year, but that one I backed.
Have they fixed the multiplayer rules? Like I got a little turned off in Louisiana when we played it. The multiplayer rules had where you roll a die and it tells you who you're targeting, and it just just to be honest, I got hit randomly 6 times in a row and died instantly.
Yeah, that's why I never play that game with multiplayer unless it's 4. I played it with 4 and it works well with 4, but I don't play it with 3. I don't play it with 5. 6 would just be too many. So either 2 or 4 is the only way I play it.
I'm gonna keep an eye out for the X-Men one. That's I'm not a huge comic book person, but I did grow up on X-Men, the animated series. That I'll keep an eye out for.
Well, it's like with every set, they up the ante on the artwork. They went from season 1, which was okay, it was decent. Season 1 reroll, which was amazing. Season 2, which was amazing. Then Marvel Dice Throne, which was through the roof. And then now X-Men looks a little bit better than Marvel Dice Throne. than the base set of Marble Dice. And like they keep getting, the artwork just keeps getting better. By Manning, I think is his name. He does the art and he's one of the designers too. Maybe Vega or something. I can't remember Manning's first name. But man, they just threw the roof on the production, threw the roof on the artwork. Then they added this campaign system with the Marble, which I also got. I can't wait to play that. I heard it makes the cooperative element of the game that they released in a previous version, which I didn't play. It makes it better, streamlines it more. So I'm excited to try the cooperative version of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
You play like against a different boss, but then you're going through a level 2 and you're moving around the boss and you're fighting enemies. So it's got this like grid kind of movement to it. It's very interesting what they're doing. They just keep expanding the game, making it more advanced and more options.
Roxley just doesn't. They don't play like component wise. They stand out.
Yeah. There's a video on YouTube somewhere where it has people's reactions. These YouTube content creators, the guys from Dice Run, the creators of it, bring them in one by one to see their reaction to the X-Men boxes, and you can see their eyes like just getting really big and their jaws dropping. And I mean, they literally have this like genuine expression.
Yeah, that was from Gen Con last year. I think I remember. There's a whole bunch of
remember that
content creators that like even the Dice Tower folks were like this secret Roxley thing or whatever that they couldn't. Yeah, okay, I remember that now.
Maybe that'll be a good entry point for you guys if you hadn't played it or you just thought it was all right and you're like X-Men. Time to try this.
Yeah, I might revisit it
then I
when
got
that
one.
gets released.
Okay, my final honorable mention here is called Floriferous. It's a very small box. It's by Pencil First Games. It's my favorite game by Pencil First Games. And all of Pencil First Games come in a very small box. Fenn is the designer, along with Eduardo, I believe, because he co-designs a lot with Steve. Steve Fenn just makes a lot of really good, easy to teach, but engaging games. I highly recommend Floriferous. Just if you want a nice small box, entering decisions. It's got this decision space where the bottom card, it's like a card drafting thing, kind of like, not Seven Wonders, because it's not on top of each other, but it's got like rows and columns of cards. And you basically take you go one column from left to right, and then you go one column from right to left. The bottom card in every column is a in-game scoring condition. All the other cards are like sets and different things to help you meet those in-game conditions. But if you take the in-game scoring condition point, which gives you points for the in-game, you'll go last the next turn. So it's turn orders changing from turn to turn based on which card you take. The one who takes the card at the very top goes first, but it might not be very good. So it's got this interesting dynamic. I've never seen a game where the turn order is changing from round to round on card drafting. I don't think there's any other game that does that, at least that I've played.
Interesting.
Nice.
This is the flowers one, right? The pastel water.
Yep, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have ever given this one a second look.
Yeah. Yeah, check out a review on it or something. I think you guys would like it. It's very clever. It's like Steve Fenn has some very good game designs.
Yep.
Cool.
It's pretty.
Cool. That's my
Another one I
pick.
gotta try out.
There you go.
That's what I call it, is to get you guys to buy more games or get you guys to try more games.
I have accused you before of being a plant for the big gaming.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Enabler.
But hey, Pencil First is a very small company, so I'm not partial to any companies. I'll take any company that's big or small. As long as the games are good.
Yeah. Anyone to give them a kickback.
Doesn't hurt.
You guys are funny. That would be nice if I got a kickback. I'd like to get in on that. I would still do it just because I enjoy doing it.
No,
Either way, I mean,
Yeah.
That's why we
But
do
kickback
this.
would be
That's
fine.
why we do the show every week.
Yeah.
We enjoy talking about
Yeah.
games.
Yep. Eventually, either Carlos and I spend money during the show, and it's good to go.
Yeah.
One or both, and never Rob.
Don't let those guys do it. Yeah. I'll play their games. Anyway.
Thank you,
Well,
Chris.
as always, Chris, it
Yeah.
was great hearing from you and stimulating conversation. Glad you made it a call-in show once again.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
It's always my pleasure, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
it.
Chris.
Good
Stay
night.
safe out
Chris.
there.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up. We got 3 minutes left here. Any final announcements or things that we didn't get out to the public?
Hey, hold on. I'm going to share this real quick. I literally popped up my Facebook just now just to see, like, you know, because I also admin the Basic Dice group. I had never looked up, talked about, even thought about the game Abduction.
Oh, yeah.
And
And there it is.
instantaneously on my Facebook
Big
feed,
brother, man.
Oh,
They're
that's amazing.
always listening.
Mentions it right there. Yeah.
right there,
Mhm.
literally Abduction, sponsored
listening.
sponsored post, like within 5 seconds of
That's
talking
amazing.
on YouTube. I have never even heard, like, I've maybe heard it on like podcasts I've listened to, but I've never talked about this game before or heard anyone talk about it. And yeah, and then literally, like, I'm going to the Beans and Dice thing on Facebook to see like engagement and stuff, and like, really sponsored post for this game, like 10 seconds after we talked about it.
Amazing.
Gotcha.
That's amazing.
Our favorite tin hat wearing subscriber, Chester Wilson. Abduction is totally based on facts.
Absolutely.
Of course it is.
Absolutely.
That's good stuff.
So there's one game that I wanted to mention that I don't know when this was, like when the announcement for it was, but it's a new John D. Clare game, who is infamous for deck or card crafting games. So, of course, now Mystic Vale is like
Mystic
his
Vale, there
big
you go.
one. That was like
Yeah.
his break-in to the
That pirate
gaming thing.
one, Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning,
Dead Reckoning,
was another one. There's another one I can't remember, but anyway, it's another card crafting game called Unstoppable. I think it's going to come out next year. It might be hitting Kickstarter. I saw Man vs. Meeple do kind of like a preview on this, and instead of having like the cards where, you know, you'd have like the 3 rows, which was like the typical card crafting game, you know, like where you would slide one in, it would only fill in the bottom row. This one has like a space on, like a cutout on the side of the cards. And you know, I don't know everything about this game, but you can kind of see in the picture there, like where the cards kind of like have a cutout on the side, and you're going to have a card in the front, which is like your abilities that you're building up, and then a card on the back, which is going to be kind of like the baddie that you're fighting against, which are those horizontal cards kind of laid out there on the right-hand side. Yeah. So you're going to be sliding cards in between these two, which are going to bump up your powers, but it's also going to bump up the power of the baddie on the other side of the card. And there's like a lot more to it than this, and you're going to pick like the big boss that you're going to fight against, you know, for that round. It's a 2-player only, or I should say solo or 2-player cooperative game, which I don't think I remember him ever doing in the past.
Well,
So I mean, I know we've been kind of like talking about 2-player games, and we're kind of, you know, looking for more than that. But it looked kind of interesting. I wasn't 100% sold on it, I'll be honest, and I need to do a little bit more research. But just the fact that, you know, John D. Clare is coming out with a new game kind of piqued my interest there a bit. So
yeah, it looks
It's a lot
interesting.
of words. Like Unstoppable is a solo cooperative roguelite momentum deck building game.
Get it all in there.
What does that
Elevator
mean?
pitch.
What does that
It
even
doesn't matter what it
mean?
means. It's just all in there.
you got to build momentum.
So solo cooperative, you know, does roguelite is like Slay the Spire. So it's a game that you'll play over and over again. It's like you build up your guy, you die, you start over, you build up your guy.
Kind of like Jamie Stegmaier's upcoming game.
correct. Similar roguelite. It's all based on
yeah.
Slay the Spire, and there's a million other roguelites, yeah. And then momentum building is like as you kind of, you know, build
You
up.
go through like this training portion of the game where you can only draft. So if you look at the card on the very left where it has that that white token with like an arrow, yep, right above the top left card there. So that's like your training. You're building up your training, and you can only draft cards where your training marker is and to the left. But then there's ways of like modding that so you can bump ahead for one round, and then you can pick more than one card, and the cards from left to right get more powerful. So as you go through your training, you're going to get more and more better powers that you can add to your repertoire. So yeah, it looked kind of interesting because this is kind of different for him, where it's it's the cutouts on the side and you're sliding a card in between two cards, and both sides of your constructed card actually have two different things that are going on at one time. So
I see
kind of
sandworms.
interesting. Yeah, sandworms, and
It does seem interesting. That's kind of cool. I like because normally when you play those like card building games, you're sliding on top and you're kind of overlaying. This kind of looks like you have a base. It's like, it looks like almost like a thicker card that has your base abilities, and you're sliding in to the side. So you're kind of slotting in abilities that you can then overlay. I like that. It's a cool concept.
yeah, it looks pretty neat. So anyway,
Kind of reminds me of what's the water game that William owns, Aquatica, where you're adding symbols by sliding them into two layers. Because these don't feel like cards; these feel like
they look like little thick, like
double layer.
Well, those are decks of like the top row there. Those are actual decks of cards, so they are single cards. So if you look all the way to the right there, you can kind of see like the one card plus this one equals this, and then you got like the two bumped up powers on the very right card there. Yeah,
I see it. So here's the top of this sandwich that I'm looking at here.
Right.
Then you got the meat in the middle, which is giving you these icons.
Yeah, you're making sandwiches there with your cards.
Everything relates to food, man. Everything relates to food.
Absolutely. That's a good BLT you got going on there.
Like Bob Lowy says, we need more unusually shaped cards in gaming.
Agreed.
Hey, it's
I
more.
don't know about
Hey, more
that.
for the sleeving.
That's how you hold up the card sleeve industry.
Yeah, I guess.
Card
I'll have to shuffle
crafting
them to
games.
get you all
How would
right.
you even
Yeah.
sleeve this card? You'd have to have a sleeve that's open on the side instead of the top.
No. They slide right in from the top. This is
Oh,
a
I
card
guess it would.
crafting
Yeah, I guess it
game.
would. Yeah,
So
true.
it's going to be, you're going to have sleeves that come with the game. You
Yeah.
have to have them to build your cards up. So
Crazy.
John Declare, new game coming out next year.
Cool.
Unstoppable.
And I think on our channel we have video of Mike with Mystic Veil.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Him in his little gardener hat, clipping vines.
Yeah. Nice long video, too. That was meaty.
That was a long one. It was great.
You could see my full, like, I'm very excited at the beginning of it, and then when it gets to the end, like, I'm just like, I just need to finish this effing
finish
video,
this.
man.
Get
so I can
all the
be
rest of
done
those
with it.
expansions. Boom, boom,
That's
boom.
how you win. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
Nice.
All right, fellas. Another week down. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Summertime is coming quick. And I know Dice Tower is talking about
2 months.
tickets winding down on their availability. I don't think they've said they sold out yet.
They're under 100 now, I think, or right around 100 or less.
I think the hotels are still bookable right now.
They are. Yep. They released more rooms, they said.
Yep.
Yep.
I just increased my reservation. I miscalculated.
I think you went earlier.
Yeah, I'm coming up Tuesday. I didn't realize I had booked like Wednesday through Sunday, and I'm like, oh well, it starts Wednesday, so we want to be there the night before. Like we want parking and get all set up and ready to
Absolutely.
go and just be done. So we're gonna drive over Tuesday afternoon. So
Where I'm more of I want to linger. I want to linger at the end and not have to be rushed out of there. So we're going to stay through Monday.
what time are you coming up Wednesday then?
Wednesday? I think Wednesday through Monday.
Yeah, I'll come up
Okay.
Wednesday morning. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll be up there Wednesday morning or Wednesday check-in.
I'll be up there. Already a bunch of the DB. I know that at least 5 or 6 of the Beans Dice crew said that it'll be up there Tuesday night, so we'll be there.
There will be no show. I'll tell you that now. There will be no show, at least from me, on that Thursday. It's my son's 21st birthday, so that
okay.
that'll be.
Congrats, man.
Can we do a show on a different night while at the con? It's kind of a tradition to do a show at the con.
Yeah, we can do something. We can figure something out.
Yeah, we
If
should do a
I'm
show.
gonna haul all that gear up there, we better do something with it.
Yeah, I feel like we have.
Otherwise, I won't bring it.
Yeah, I feel like we gotta do a show on one of the nights, right? I don't know. That's up to you, Carlos. You're the one that's gonna
We will
haul all this
figure it
stuff
out.
Yeah.
You know what, Carlos? I liked it when you used to bring that little camera on the gimbal, and you used to
At DJI.
Walk
walk
around
around and
yeah.
oh man, I loved it when you did those videos. Of course, you had to edit those, but I really did enjoy those.
All right. Well, I got the DSLR with the anti-shake, so it's about as good as it gets. The gimbal busted.
Really?
It just keeps clicking. So I haven't replaced it because I'd rather put money into DSLRs for the show. But
Yeah.
I do enjoy doing that, like the walkthroughs and showing stuff and what's going on. I personally like watching those videos that people do to see what's going on at the con. So I will make sure to make an effort to not forget to share my experiences.
Cool.
He's got a clicky gimbal. They make a powder or something for that, don't they? Clicky
An
gimbals.
ointment for clicky gimbals.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know. Look, Carlos, we'll talk. We'll figure something out.
We will.
Yep.
We will. All right, folks. That'll do it for another show. Chris from Texas, thank you for making it a call-in show. Mike, Wayne, Rob, thank you for joining us again, for being here with me. I much appreciate it. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Wayne.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Catch you all on the next one. Good night, everybody.